right, good evening, everyone. In compliance with the Open Public Meetings Act, PL 1975, Chapter 231, the notice requirements have been satisfied. The meeting dates for the year are confirmed at the annual meeting, are posted on the public bulletin board in the lobby of the Municipal Center, and published in the record within the first 10 days of the new year. Just a couple of housekeeping things. Just if everyone could be so kind, if you're not speaking, just to have your computers and phones on mute, so we avoid background noise. A couple of other little things. The Division of Community Affairs in Trenton is experiencing delays, and they're the folks who review all municipal budgets. And because of that, we have the budget adoption on the agenda this evening. We're still going to have our public hearing and discuss it and have public comment, but we will not be adopting it this evening. The Community Affairs Division is expecting us to not adopt tonight, but wait until another meeting to adopt. But we'll still have the public hearing tonight. It's okay for us to adopt the capital bond ordinance this evening, so we'll move forward with that. I do have one important announcement to make. We need to make a huge congratulations and thanks to the Korean Community Center and Michael Nam, who's the executive officer at the Korean Community Center. They donated to the borough this past weekend, the borough and the Board of Education, approximately $20,000 worth of masks and hand sanitizer. Jimmy, what was that, about 40 or 60 cases they brought over to Borough Hall on Saturday?
A lot.
Right, and so thank you very much to the Korean Community Center. It's very helpful. Now, we've distributed those to our senior center, our recreation center. It's gone to each of the 6 schools in town, and of course, to our emergency services workers here. So a big thank you to the Korean Community Center and Michael Nam and all the folks over there. I wanted to say that while we have the maximum number of people in town on the phone tonight, it looks like Lauren, Council President Dayton, has joined us, which is great.
Yes, good evening, Mayor. Yes.
Hi, how are you?
Good.
How are you? Okay, so the first this evening is a presentation of electric vehicle charging by Volta. Jimmy, why don't you take that away?
Yeah, so Councilwoman Dr. Julia O'Connor has been working on presenting and bringing more information to the Mayor Council regarding electric vehicle charging stations. Volta is, after the presentation at the last meeting, Volta works closely with Bergen County and has a few electric vehicle charging stations administered through the county. So we thought it would be helpful and great to bring them on board. They've done an analysis and a tour of the downtown and some of our borough property, and had looked into working with us to put a few charging stations. So John is on the call here to present their findings, but I would also turn to Dr. Julia O'Connor to add as well before we turn it over to John.
Yes, thanks, Jimmy. I'm going to let John talk about what he offers, but I did also, want to echo what Jimmy was saying, as John has a footprint already, Volta in Bergen County, and as I'm sure he'll also say, is that one of the things is they can also work with our community about putting the extra charging stations for town vehicles as well. But I'm going to let him talk about what it is they will offer. And I hope you all ask as many questions as you'd like. Thanks, John.
Thanks, Julie. Do you think I should be sharing my screen if possible to show the overall presentation? I've got it up. Will do.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, everyone. My name is John Stuckey. I'm a New Jersey native and resident, and I am the Director of Site Development for a company called Volta Charging. And we have a very interesting take on how to build electric vehicle charging infrastructure across the country. And I have a lot of latitude to explore our business model, and I'm thrilled to be speaking with you because it's been an interesting and almost passion project to present to municipalities and figure out a way to shift our model to work within communities like yours. With that being said, Volta has a wildly different take on EV charging, and instead of charging people for electricity, we decided that there's a better way to build EV charging infrastructure. And what we do is we go to heavily trafficked locations and places of commerce, and we go ahead and put our stations up for free, and we give away the power for free. And the way we monetize this and the way we think about the world is we do it through a media platform. And what's really interesting about this media platform and the way we position it is that it allows us to serve a multitude of interests. And if we do this correctly, we can install for free and we can build infrastructure in lockstep with EV adoption. We can give away some of the media to whoever's hosting us. In this case, it would be the town of Tenafly to put whatever messaging they want on the stations. And we also, as I mentioned, give away the power for free. So we are by far and away the most utilized EV charging company across the country. We think it's about 4x the other network providers, but those numbers are hard to lock down. So with this, we are one of the only networks that's investing in owning our network, and we would set out, and when we want to partner with somebody, we do it at no cost. So if we can come to some sort of agreement with the town of Tenafly, Volta would be putting this infrastructure in for free, maintaining it for free, and it would be a long-term service agreement. So a little bit of history about Volta and how we've evolved and how we think about the world. So we, as I mentioned, we go into major metro areas and we install and we cover all the capex costs for the installation, and we're putting the stations in the ground. This is actually a bit outdated. We're now up to 1,750 stations across the country, concentrated in major metro areas, and this is a visual of where we're investing right now. And the beauty of how people interact with the Volta stations comes down to the fact that we're giving away the power for free. So we are the highest utilized, which means we also have the highest carbon offset. And the content platform, when it's exercised or when it's used correctly, is a really interesting messaging tool that reaches a high number of people. We have minimum thresholds. To place our stations, otherwise it won't have enough media value to justify it for our partners, whether that's a national brand, a local business, or a community like you. And what's fascinating about us is we have to think very deeply about this macroeconomic shift to the electrification of the transportation sector, because we're committing all of this money and capital up front. So we have a bunch of different data sources that we look at to understand where EV adoption is now and where it's going to be in the future, and how many stations we need to put in now and in the future to kind of build in lockstep with said EV adoption. And this is just a quick visual of why I think that we're greater than the sum of our parts, because we're serving multiple different interests in any given property. And this is not just for a retail setting or a mall. This is also for a vibrant downtown community like Tenafly. So some interesting stats that we found out about Tenafly and how we kind of looked at the opportunity and how Volta might work with Tenafly. Found that the downtown business district had a little under 2 million people visit in 2019, and we look at this from aggregated cell phone data, which I'm happy to share around to the provider that we use. And then we also track electric vehicle adoption. As I'm sure you might imagine, it is reasonably high in Bergen County. Right now, 1 in 55 cars are actually capable of using our charging stations within a 3-mile radius. And we looked at that and came up with a rough calculation saying we would be interested in investing in 6 stations overall in Tenafly based on those immediate metrics. And the overall proposal and the station mix that we came up with was the following. And that will be 3 level 2 stations. Consider those the stations that you might install at your home, and it'll give you between 20 and 30 miles per hour of charge for free. So it's very much a reward-based system. And we will give away that power to anybody who wants to plug in indefinitely. And what's really interesting that we found an opportunity to install a fast charging station, and I'll get into that a bit, but I'm particularly proud of this opportunity and really thankful working with Jimmy and Dr. O'Connor to figure out how we can make this work. And I think it's a unique solution. And then as Dr. O'Connor also mentioned, we're happy to put in two simple, what we call pedestal charging stations that don't have media on them, that can service the fleet electrification at the municipal building, simply because the economics of us installing that are incredibly low, and we're happy to put that in to be a full service partner. Cool. So economics for Tenafly, simple, free. We'd be giving away $400 a month in media value to whoever you would like to use, or to whatever group would like to use it within the town. We're happy to talk about things like carve-outs for local business and preferred rates. I also think it's very important to just to consider how Volta makes its money and who our partners are with on the media side, and how we run that business. Right now, the vast majority of our advertisers are big national brands, and we have a dedicated media team, which is the largest in the company, that's to those national brands. And our best advertiser is anybody who's launching an electric vehicle. There was an article out earlier this year where Chevrolet, and specifically the Chevrolet Bolt team, bought out our entire network for 2 days and owned every inch of the advertising space for the launch of that vehicle. So it's kind of an elegant solution where a lot of the electric vehicle manufacturers are actually paying for the infrastructure and refueling for the infrastructure, but they're getting a little extra out of it with this platform to speak to would-be electric vehicle buyers. But as you might imagine, this is a very public format, so we don't do anything of an adult nature. We don't do drugs, we don't do tobacco products, firearms, or any other weapons activities, or anything else that would be provocative. So, visual of the stations that we intend to install in the downtown Tenafly area. This is our level 2 media station. It has 2 digital screens. They are, well, they're not bulletproof, but they are incredibly resilient and probably over-engineered, and we warranty them for the duration of the contract. And then a very similar station for the fast charger. The main difference is really the thickness of the cord, because it's carrying more electricity into the car. So, what we came up with. Tenafly this was a really great opportunity because Tenafly does have that kind of iconic Main Street feel that I think New Jersey does better, perhaps, than any other state in the country. And we found a couple interesting places where people spend a lot of time, and we quantified the foot traffic. And it's not only where people will spend time and the visibility to the media content will be maximized, but also there's appropriate space and electrical infrastructure to hook up to these stations with, and still cause minimal impact to the surrounding neighborhood. So, idea of what the stations might look like when they're in the ground and how they might service spots. They're about 7 feet tall and 3 feet wide, so hopefully we got the dimensions right. Of note about this particular site, there's available utility power and tie-in right next to these stations, so it will require very minimal work to install these. They're anchored on concrete pads, and we're happy to put bollards around them or other protections. And then this, which I thought was really, really interesting, this would be one of our level 2 charging stations, which is the slower of the two, and then one fast charging station. Now, the thing with fast charging and how to build this network effectively, and why I think this is so interesting, our thesis is we really want electric vehicle infrastructure to not be hidden in the back of the parking lot, so to speak, but to be brought to the forefront and done in an artful way. It's especially hard to do that with fast charging infrastructure because it requires more electrical equipment to just power the charger itself. So what's brilliant about the station placement on the left is that, one, it's next to heavy-duty electrical infrastructure that was presumably for the train station or for the train line over time that we can tie into. And then there's also enough green space to host the additional equipment that converts the AC power from the grid into the DC power, which is how it goes into the car and charges it. So all in, we can offer the same form factor and the same look and feel of our charging stations with really minimal disruption to the space. And we can also provide much greater service by putting in this fast charging. And the whole idea with the fast charging, and why I think it's interesting for Tenafly and how we think about standing up that network, is how do we influence people to come and stop in Tenafly when they are traveling longer distances? And that's why we want to experiment with this first station in Tenafly. And the whole idea with our stations is that the media should subsidize the charging cost, that we should be the lowest cost provider over time. That power, and just to be very clear, the cost of the power with the fast charging system is significantly higher, so we can't give it out for free indefinitely. And then quick footnote, just explaining how we would install 2 more stations to serve municipal vehicles, and the end of, and not quite the end of the presentation, and then also a map of how we think about EV adoption and some data that we ran on Tenafly in the supporting system, or in the supporting areas. You'll notice I kept a pretty tight radius because as soon as you cross the river into Yonkers, that's kind of a desert for electric vehicles and electric vehicle charging, because nobody has a really meaningful multi-family solution yet. So I kept the radius pretty tight to really highlight Bergen County. But with that, and I will stop sharing my screen for the moment. Does anybody have preliminary questions, thoughts? I fully acknowledge that our business is different, and when we find the right fit, I think it's absolutely brilliant, and hopefully we found one.
So I have a
I
question.
have some too.
You have some too, Lauren? Okay, so let me just ask a quick question. John, thank you for the presentation. We appreciate your time. What happens, like the locations you picked out, what happens if the council decides to move forward with this, but we're not so keen on a couple of locations? How does that work?
That is fine, as long as it's still in an advantageous location for the media, so we can actually make the money to support the free installation. It's okay. We had slightly different locations picked out originally when Julie and Jimmy and I met on site, and we did change them because we thought this would fit a little better, but we're still open to discussion there.
Okay, Lauren, go ahead, please.
John, thank you so much for your time. I am very much in favor of electric charging stations, but not in favor of this. I think that this is the wrong look and feel for Tenafly, and I think you have presented a plan that would be incredibly intrusive to our small downtown. I disagree that the media should be placed throughout our small, quaint downtown, and I think that you are not understanding what Tenafly is all about. I was thinking that tonight's presentation was going to present this Volta station within the municipal lot and within our existing parking lots. And even then, I didn't love the media stations and the messaging content. There's no guarantee here that the costs won't increase and that the messaging will be utilized by anything local. And therefore, I'm not sure what national advertising or state advertising would cost. I'm not sure our businesses can afford to advertise here, and I would hate to require that burden for them. You know, I very much want to bring an electric charging station, but I'd like to see some other options presented, maybe from Volta, that aren't as intrusive, like I said, to our downtown. I know I walk downtown almost every day with my children, and if there's large media TVs, I'm not going to enjoy that walk. I think that content messaging needs to also acknowledge that people live very close and above our stores. And so that's lighting that we have not discussed. We don't know the value, you know, the voltage of it. So I'm not hearing that they can get shut off. I'm not hearing that it's not going to be intrusive. I'm a little actually disappointed that we have presented a plan throwing TVs throughout our downtown. So is it possible to work with Volta and put it within parking lots or in discrete places?
Sorry. I appreciate the opinion. And one, let me say, I grew up in New Jersey, and it is absolutely not my intention to come in and litter a downtown like Tenafly with digital screens that don't serve a purpose. truthfully, the way I think about this, and we probably will have differing opinions, I think this is a really advanced marketing tool that we're almost bringing into local business, and it's almost funded by larger business. And I mean that because I've spent some time in the digital marketing space, and I looked at the disparity of some of the tools that the larger concerns had to play with, and how difficult it was to bring the business models down to small business. But that's a story for another time. To answer really the entirety of your question very succinctly, we don't have a business model without the media. And our stations are also over-engineered and set up for the media. So if you were going to go with a different company, we probably wouldn't even be the right provider for you because our equipment is expensive. And lastly, the stations and the lighting can be dimmed and controlled, and that is up to the town to figure out the terms of when they want to make them available to the public.
Well, that's a good thing to know. Okay, thank you.
Jeff, please.
All right, John, thank you very much for the presentation. Very cool. Two questions, very simple. First one's easier. Number one, how many charging stations does Volta currently have in the U.S.?
We're at 1750, I believe.
Okay, and what are you aiming for in the next, let's say, year or two?
We want to be about 3,000 installed by the end of this year, and I think double it the year after. It's interesting. We're kind of in a hyper growth mode right now, especially as EV adoption grows. So we're open to business, so to speak, in the New York area.
Got it. So the second question I have is, do you have any of these within a reasonable driving radius of here in case people want to see what one physically looked like in situation?
Yeah, absolutely. This was
without going to New York.
Yeah, right. No, one of the reasons this came about is the first installation we did with a municipal or local government body in New Jersey was with Bergen County, and we have stations in right next to, or in Van Salm Park, right next to the Bergen County Zoo.
Okay. That way you can visualize a lot better than a picture. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Other council members? I can't see everyone, so council members,
John,
speak
you
up.
had another town. John, you had another town. Was it Westfield or something that you said was a similar downtown?
We have 6 stations in the ground in Westfield right now. We're just waiting for PSE&G to turn them on at the moment. But yeah, we went through a similar exercise and definitely had similar concerns. So a lot of the learnings from there and how we decided to position this with the small business community came from that.
Mr. Mayor?
Okay, so town of Westfield.
Okay,
Sorry.
hold on. Adam first, then Lauren, please.
Thanks, John. Really appreciate you making the time and agree. Definitely something that we want to figure out how to do for our community. I just had 2 or 3 questions. First one, just some of the simpler ones. I feel like I've run into a lot of the they're almost like double chargers. I don't know if Volta does that or not. Obviously, you get twice the amount of cars serviced for the same unit. Is that something that you have or not yet, or it's on the roadmap?
We do. It all depends on what the site partner wants. And it all depends on what our means of monetization are and how we can kind of structure the deal. But yes.
So pretty much you do have double chargers, but it sounds like they're probably for charge for payment versus free.
They could be in the future. It's not our core business, but here's the thing that I emphatically believe in. I think our company believes in, that I want to make perfectly clear. If we install the level 2 chargers in this town, or if you were to install level 2 chargers in your downtown area, and you were to monetize them by charging people for that electricity, I want to ask you, why would you go into a downtown parking lot when you live in the area and pay a premium for that electricity? Like, why are you going to downtown paying $5 for a gallon of gas when you have $3 gas at home as soon as you plug in? So it's this it's this really interesting problem to solve where by giving away the power for free, it's enabling more EV adoption, and it's a great thing. But the really interesting part, and what I'm most excited about, is possibly putting in the fast charging, because the fast charging is a problem that absolutely must be solved. And instead of, a turnpike and a McDonald's where somebody would stop taking a road trip, I'd much rather bring them to downtown Tenafly.
And I think fundamentally that's, we had the folks that lead the efforts in Bergen County come last time. And again, thank you, Julie, for organizing this. That was actually my big question, which was, I'm trying to understand who would actually use this. So, if my wife lets me, I'd like to be getting an electric car. But I think my garage would serve that for me. So I don't need to go when I go to Cafe Angelique for a coffee. I wouldn't be that person. I think that if we had a strategy, and I would love this as a council, around we are going to be the destination. Like literally, we want every person that goes upstate, New York or wherever, and we are going to turn Tenafly into the town that everyone stops in, right? It's sort of like when people get gas, right? Because no one wants to get gas in the 3 gas stations in all of Manhattan. Really cool, and that's a strategy. I'm trying to understand. I totally get it for our vehicles for the borough. I'm trying to understand, how do we optimize this opportunity, for again, it's our residents, but I assume it's for people that are coming to visit, at which point I want to help market that.
And please continue with the questions. And while we do that, I'm going to bring up some more information. I'm actually going to show you travel trends and foot traffic trends in Tenafly.
Lauren, your question is next.
Oh, I wanted to know in Westfield. I know you said you had put them in a downtown in Westfield, so I had some questions. How big is Westfield, New Jersey? And do people live in the downtown, and how close do people live to the downtown?
Great question. I don't know the overall population. I can tell you, I can use foot traffic as a corollary for the overall size of their downtown. They have a large downtown. They see about 5 million people a year, where Tenafly sees about 2. So you can use that. Or consider that. They do have development. I believe they do have housing in the downtown area. The station placements and where we put them, one was right next to the train station. It's basically street side at one of the smaller train station lots. 2 was the largest municipal lot, which also happens to house a grocery store. So that actually generated the most foot traffic within the town. And then the third place was just an installation in a parking lot that we were able to optimize for cost because there were so many electric vehicles, we had to think about a place to put it.
So not amongst like little stores and walkways and paths.
The ones in the train station are, because they're street side. Yeah.
But I assume a train station has mass amounts of foot traffic for the station, so it's a little bit more industrial than what we are proposing today.
No, it is your typical commuting downtown, like New Jersey, like Summit. It is a premier New York commuting downtown. Yeah.
A couple of questions. 30,000 people in Westfield. Lauren.
Thank you, ma'am.
You're welcome.
Double ours.
It's double. Yep. John, when would Volta start charging Tenafly or the users? How does that change, and what triggers that?
Totally. The 3 level 2 stations, which we think of as an amenity, they will be free indefinitely. It's in the contract. We're giving away the power for free. You just pull and plug in. It is an amenity and a nice to have. The faster charging stations, we don't know exactly how we are going to price that out over time now. So I can't give you 100% certain that this is going to be the way we're going to do it over the next 10 years. But we know we have to charge people to run the business because sourcing the electricity is too costly.
And one final question, and then I have a question for Julie. What happens if, whatever, 6 months down the road, a year down the road, everyone agrees we want to move it from location A to location B? Is that possible? And are there costs distributed with that?
It is. It's up for discussion, depending upon the cost.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead. Well, I want to say one more thing, and then Lauren, you're next.
Mayor,
I have a question too.
I have a
Oh,
question too.
okay, I didn't see you
You
guys.
can go
Okay, thank
first.
you for speaking up. One last question. I'm gonna, request Dr. O'Connor, have an offline conversation with John, and then perhaps provide Omar for distribution to the council, a list in New Jersey where council members, if they choose, can actually go see these things in the different towns they're in, so that we can understand what we're talking about. And then Vanu,
Sure
and Dan, and then Lauren.
Okay. John, thank you for coming. Just wanted to ask you, over the course of time, as technology advances, does Volta upgrade the equipment, so that we get the maximum or whatever benefit out of those charging stations?
It is absolutely a course of our business to do that because we own the network. And I will say specifically for this proposal, the equipment that we're putting in to power the first fast charging station can actually support more than one.
Okay.
I think Dan is next.
Then Lauren?
Oh, Dan was
Please.
next, isn't there?
Yep.
Yeah, Dan, go ahead, and then Lauren.
Question. So what happens if a private business wanted to partner with us on top of that? So let's say the Clinton Inn downtown. It's obviously got longer staying visitors. What do you do it on private property as well?
We absolutely do it on private property, but private property is generally retail. Because we have to meet minimum foot traffic thresholds. Is the Clinton the hotel sort of at the top of town? Yeah. I actually know reasonably well the heat map of where people are spending time. I know that doesn't have the foot traffic to support our media model. But at the same time, if we're in town and we can install a non-media product and you can help us with the cost, sure.
Lauren?
John, I have a question about the fast charging.
Mm-hmm.
So this is a different financial model. I'm sorry, can you just run through how the towns afford the fast charging again? I'm sorry, I didn't get very good notes on it.
Yeah, totally. So quick thought process on fast charging and how that world works. The fast charging, or the cost to install a fast charger is often in the six-figure realm, no matter what site you're looking at, between the equipment and the hookup to the utility, et cetera, et cetera.
And does Volta pay that, or is the municipality responsible?
No, we pay everything. It's free.
Okay.
It's our network. It's our network, and obviously the media is a huge consideration for you and how we position it, and that is the value proposition. Yep. So the fast charging is not going to cost Tenafly anything, and the reason why I think we provide an interesting product for fast charging is, at the end of the day, all the technology, all the really interesting technology that's going to drive electric vehicles forward is happening on the electric vehicle itself and in the battery. A lot of it comes down to the battery management system, which is how they think about the heating and the cooling and the temperature management of a commoditized cell. Right? So if you're talking about a commoditized business, because fast charging will become that, like, how do you differentiate, or what's your edge? And why I think Volta has a very elegant solution is, if we're in a commoditized business, it all comes down to price. The media should subsidize the price so we can always be the cheapest fast charging option and continue to draw people to locations, which is the core tenet of our business. We want to influence EV driving and EV adoption behavior for our site partners.
What happens if there's a month where media is slow?
On us. I'll tell you, the first 6 to 8 months, you're not going to see anything except for Volta content and town content on that. And it's going to take us a while to really sell into it and monetize it.
And again, the town content, the business would have to pay to advertise with Volta.
I'm giving you $400 per month per station to do whatever you want with. And I'm also happy to negotiate a discounted rate for local business It is what we did in Westfield, and right now that rate is as little as $15 a day. We stood up a local business team. Yeah, $15 a day to buy out a screen or to buy a portion of the screen. Yep.
I mean, if you stand on Washington, I think you could see almost all the businesses at once that are pretty local. So to put a TV on Washington, advertise the business that you're standing next to for $15 a day seems a little costly.
And it's interesting. No, it's actually very much in line with what you're going to find with any digital out of home rate. To be honest, we had to move our
these
price.
businesses right now, if they say, let's say our local businesses, let's say you get a handful, 2 or 3 out of the 40 businesses that we're hoping survive through this pandemic year. And they don't. So the only other businesses that will advertise is Volta.
No, you'll get a lot of national brands, and right now the biggest advertiser we have is every time an electric vehicle comes out, they spend heavily on our infrastructure. That is our best advertising.
Car advertising and Volta.
Yeah, those are the most likely things you would see day one.
So John, I was wondering if you could just speak to the fact that I think you told me that the charge will turn off after 2 hours, right? Because I know that some people said, oh, they were worried about a person maybe being there all day on a level 2. If you could just talk to that, and maybe if you're able to talk about the Stop and Shop parking lot. I'm not 100% sure if you can, but
yes.
just to 2 things.
Just to kind of give you an idea. Yeah, we have an initiative with Ahold Delhaize. Ahold Delhaize owns Stop and Shop, Giant Food, Giant Companies, and I believe Hannaford. But overall they control 3,000 supermarkets up and down the East Coast. If both companies had our way, all of those locations would have 2 charging stations in them tomorrow. So you may receive a request at some point in the permitting department to install those stations in that parking lot. And then as far as controlling the stations, the brilliance of this is the stations are over-engineered and we can program them however you want. If you only want an hour of free charging to move people in and out of the spots, that's great. If you want 2 hours, that's fine. If you want to shut them off at 10 o'clock, or if you want to shut them off between the hours of 2 and 6 because you don't want anyone on the streets at that time, that's fine. That is all within your right as the site host, and it's a common discussion.
Okay, Dr. O'Connor, John, and Jimmy, next steps here, should, how about we look at some stations and see what we're talking about so we understand it better? But John, what are next steps typically that a municipality would take in these scenarios? What have our colleagues done? While we do our due diligence.
While you do the due diligence, it is, however, whenever you tell me you are ready to move forward, if you want to, we would go into a contract negotiation to understand and solidify the terms and define things like what we can and cannot advertise, what that discount might be to small businesses, et cetera, et cetera. And once that is formally signed, we will go into construction drawings and we will put that to the town and we will start speaking with PSE&G to source the power, and we'll try to get the stations in as quickly as possible. Realistically, probably a 6-month process just because of the complexity of dealing with the utility in this landscape.
So I'm going to recommend to the council that the first thing we have to do is go out into the field and see what's going on, so that we can kind of kick the tires and see it live. And then we come back, we schedule a council meeting and have another conversation like this to see what next steps, if any, we're going to take. And how do the council members feel about that as a next step?
Agreed.
No,
John, just so I understand, the ones at the zoo that will look exactly like the ones that would be in Tenafly, they're not a different design?
You would actually get the upgraded model. It would be slightly newer and actually has better cord management. So you wouldn't see that cord on the ground like you do see at the zoo at the moment. It retracts automatically.
Jeff, you wanted to comment?
Just saying that's why I asked earlier, where the nearest stations are, is for precisely for us to spend the time, take a look at it in situ, and then we have a better idea of what we're talking about.
Okay. All right. So Dr. O'Connor and Jimmy, the two of you will work together to make that information all happen and make available to the council.
Yep,
Okay.
we'll do.
All right. All right. John, thank you very much for your presentation and your time this evening. We
Thank you,
appreciate all
John.
your energy and the work you did on
Thank you
this.
very much.
Thank you,
Jen.
council members. It
Thank you.
is an honor, and no matter how this moves forward, I appreciate the opportunity.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr.
Okay.
Mayor,
Yes, sir.
I just don't know where we put it in the system, but I did want to bring up the I know we have the capital bond ordinance coming up later tonight. I just wanted to put that as an item to discuss, whether it be at the ordinance or for the good of the order, wherever you feel most appropriate.
Well, we'll be, hold on a second. We're going to be discussing that later this evening, and we will get to it. Okay,
So can we
let's,
take 2 seconds now that John's not on the phone? Can we just have a more frank conversation? I just didn't want to do it in front of him. I think, I just want to say, I think Volta, has a good idea. I think maybe in the presentation, we should try to find some alternative spots for it. I'm not against, the concept of bringing our electric cars or this media. I just don't think maybe the media belongs in our center of our downtown the way he visualized it. Julie, or Dr. O'Connor, sorry, Councilman Dr. O'Connor, thank you for bringing him. Do you think maybe he would present or be willing to present something in an alternative spot?
So, I know we have a really packed agenda tonight,
Yeah.
but I'll just say very briefly that initially, so the things that they look for are where the power is buried. So there's a few things at play. And obviously, since their business model is that they do all this for free, they need to get something out of it, right? So originally they were talking about the place in front of Cafe Angelique, and I was like, no way, no how. And then that's why you'll see the two that were, closer to the Greek place, and then the two that was by Arroggio and where the police vehicle parks right now. So those are fairly, good compromises. I'm not real sure if any other spot fits into what their needs are, but we do get quite a lot out of it as a community with the idea of them bringing in and then providing free charge. So it's just, there's definitely some positives. So, but
right.
I know there's
We'll
a lot
talk.
to visit, and that's it.
Are we hearing, by the way, are we hearing from other vendors on electric cars?
Julie, do you want to answer
So
that
at
question?
this point, so at this point, no, because the other vendor, there's not that many, but the other vendor that we met with on the phone, it's expensive, and that would be the type of thing where it would just be installation and that cost, and there's no business model regarding advertising or anything else
Yeah.
to consider. So it'd just be, what our needs are at the time. So
Let's keep it in
I'd
mind,
be
if
interested in
the
hearing it,
council makes
though.
if the council makes a decision to go down the road to pay for and purchase these sort of things, it's all public contracts law stuff. And we just can't arbitrarily bring vendors in to make presentations. We would handle it very differently,
Got it.
starting with engineering. But, okay, so Julie, you'll work with Jimmy, providing that information to the council members. Okay, so to be considered, the next item is the open space plan. And we had talked about putting this on the agenda to talk about open space dollars as it related to the swim club, the previous swim club on Grove Street, and how we would use open space money and what the council's thoughts on it. And one of the issues is, we've been collecting this open space tax for plus or minus 10 years. And I think it's important that we have a conversation of what we plan to do with these dollars and what the priorities are. So, and making sure we want to continue to collect this tax. So with that, opening up to council comments and questions. Lauren, looks like your hand's up first.
I appreciate everyone putting this on the agenda this evening. And obviously, you have heard some of my positions during budgeting time. I feel very strongly that our community should benefit from raising the open funds. The Open Fund Trust, as you know, is for not only preserving open and green spaces, but for revitalizing parks, playgrounds, and recreation. Right now, there is very limited option to purchase additional open space, although I am going to bring one up tonight. And I would like to see us actually plan, as Adam has presented, at least a couple of things for the year 2021 into 2022 that we can work on and have for our community. So I'm going to start actually with an open space purchase, which I'm not 100% sure is for sale, and Mayor, maybe you can help me. There is a property adjacent to our current municipal field. It currently has a historical home on it. And within the past 6 months, that home I've seen for both for sale and for lease. As we sit here today, I'm not exactly sure what the owner was interested in doing. So I would recommend that we consider purchasing that property. It's an extension of our already existing municipal lot and space. I would like to propose, actually, and this is something that we've toyed a little bit about with a group here that was for the 19th Amendment, is a museum, and that we utilize the remaining space around it as an extension of our municipal field and needs for our sports. So I'd like to take the house, which is historical, and open up a women's suffrage museum for New Jersey.
Well, yeah, that goes, I'm not passing judgment on what I'm about to say, but that goes to the heart of the question of, do we want to use the money for new projects or do we want to use the money for improving properties and facilities we already are in possession of? Okay, that's an open-ended question.
All of the above.
Right. Okay.
So,
Dr. O'Connor.
Mark? Yeah, hi. So Omar, would you mind presenting just for the public an email that I sent to my fellow council people now, if you don't mind? So I'll just show this. So I was taking tonight's meeting as a little bit more fine-tuned regarding their property at the swim club. So what I did after the last meeting was I spoke to people in my circle and neighbors and people I've gotten to know, and with their ideas regarding possible swim, there we go, possible swim club ideas, as the abandoned property. Okay, so that one doesn't exactly have the pictures of one of them, but anyway, oh, yeah, there you go. Anyway, you could make it just a little larger, so because I'm just going to go down the list of what I collected. So that swim club, just for anyone listening, is 2.3 acres. We decided at the last budget. Okay, so that's one of the ideas, but if you want to go maybe to the list, from the body of the email. Thanks, Omar. Okay, those are called meditation mazes. Those are just one of the ideas. So basically it's a 2.3 acre lot, and perfect. And that's the one. So basically that's where the dog park now currently is. Some of the things I've collected from people is whatever we design there should be ADA compliant, which is now called inclusive design. And so it is a lot that the town already owns, but we're not really doing anything with it. And I think at this last budget, we decided that we would fill in the pool with gravel. So I broke up the suggestions I've received into 3 different categories. One, biodiversity. So some of the things that were recommended to me were like tree grove with benches, possibly getting people to sponsor benches as fundraisers or dedicate the benches, planting native trees, a pollinator garden. And these are becoming all the rage. These are gardens that attract bees, butterflies, hummingbirds, it helps with biodiversity. And if you see there, just that one of the possible ideas is that raised flower beds could go on the gravel that would be filling in the pool. And then other feedback I've gotten from people very, very well educated on the environment said that we have to be really careful not to use certain pesticides because, those are prohibited for pollinators. Covered walkways, with maybe trellises and ivy, just kind of a lovely passive recreation area, open grass for sitting or relaxing. Again, avoiding carcinogens or endocrine disruptors like Roundup. And nesting platforms, those are areas that, basically are places that attract certain birds, and then you see monk parakeets and other birds. Then ideas I got for people with young families, hopscotch or 4 square outlines, maybe a kid's splash zone. Think of fountains because there's already water running under there. Some playground, but it was called a natural playground, which is no pesticides, no synthetic turf. Those, then the other category was visual enjoyment, which was maybe a meditation maze. And that's the pictures you see there. Those are, you might see them, maybe some of you have seen them, which is basically a person can walk through the meditation maze and it helps them. And you see the photos of those. Or a rock garden, a sculpture garden. Maybe we can get our local artists doing some sort of contest, to have them contribute. And then also solar power lights, for the lighted paths. Maybe we could have someone sponsor some of that, like a local electrician. And then sustainability elements for that space, like a lending book station, bike racks, drinking fountain to fill water bottles, and recycling bins. So those were some of the ideas I collected from people. I hope it gives everybody some things to think about. And, I do think it is good to start in a location that we have. I think it's always good to also look at other locations, but, if we want to move projects forward, maybe it's good to start with something like the swim club and make it really nice. And of course, right now the dog park is there, and then that dog park is being utilized. So that's also something, to integrate that whole thing to serve a few purposes that might be very nice. Okay, so Omar, you can take that down for the next person to talk, but I did just want to share what I was able to collect.
And just to make sure, and Mark, you're on mute. I just want to make sure, and I don't know, Omar, if you're leading the charge. The objective of tonight, and I'm asking a question for our fellow council. So hopefully all of us are going to bring forward some ideas. Are we going to be able to synthesize or prioritize or get them onto one page? I'm just asking the question of how are we leaving this meeting tonight?
So we've got a big question. We got a big question to ask and to get answered yet. The big question is, how does the council want to use the open space money? Okay.
Or step back. If do people want to use it? I'm sure. I mean, I have a point of view, but I'm sure that's a question almost before that.
Go ahead,
can I take
Dan.
that one step further, Mark? So
Yeah.
for 2021, the fiscal year 2021 into 2022, with the timing of the Theodore Roosevelt Monument fix, the proposed skate park, and our pool problem, I think we should do both of those properties in succession. So let's say we revamp up Roosevelt Commons completely from Monument to Tiger Cage. There's a unofficial walking path there that happens to go up the Tenafly Brook, goes through school property. It's unofficial. It goes all the way to the high school parking lot and theoretically can connect to the dog park area. So I think we should work as one giant restoration project where we get all our elements in these two properties, everything from the skate park to, obviously we'll film the pool, to passive areas, to the pollinators, the whole nine. I think it should be planned for now. That way we can actually move forward on it rather than talk about it every meeting.
Okay, Jeff, Vanu, would you like to weigh in?
Vanu, you want to weigh in first, or?
Yeah, I mean, sure. You know, my personal vision is that we take the existing pool area that we have and we work with that, and we design something that will look appropriate for given some of the ideas that Dr. O'Connor put out, and you know, we can consider others. I mean, but making it, I mean, you know, we do have a 2.3 acre space over there, and you know, I think as a palette, PALETTE, that's a pretty a good you know place to paint, and that we can do a lot of good things. I personally, you know, don't want to. I think we're putting too much focus on the Roosevelt Monument in terms of trying to build it up and develop it. And I have a problem with developing an area that, you know, in my mind, has a certain level of solemnity attached to it, rather than it being, you know, kind of a wanton place that people run around and you know, do. So even, for example, the skate park, I wouldn't want the skate park there. I think we have definitely other places that we could put a skate park if that was something that we wanted, but that would not be the place. You know, so my vision is not Dan's vision, Councilman Parks. My vision is also not, as you've heard, Councilman White.
Thank you, Vanu. Jeff, please.
Yeah, so look, I think this is an important discussion, and as I said at the prior meeting, we don't want to be all over the place, because that is, to Twin Michael's earlier point, not this meeting, but that meeting, that we don't make decisions. And the more we are all over the lot, the less likely we are to make a decision. We know we have a 2.3 acre site. We started there. I'd like to finish it. However, that being said, I think Councilman Park knows I'm not the biggest fan of the skate park, but I am a fan of that path that he mentioned. That path goes around. That's a beautiful path, and incorporates some of the original design from Marjorie Sewell Cautley. And I think we do need to be mindful that she was the landscape architect who designed that area. It was meant to be not stagnant, but it was meant to encompass the area. And she is somebody that we need to be aware of, was one of the first female landscape architects in our country. She is noted. She's done some major projects in her lifetime. And she is noted on the historic signs. So I like the idea. I'm actually just processing in my head, but I like the idea of the connecting the areas. There is something. I like that, and the paths. And we can consider what we would put, although we'll be limited what we can put along the path, only because as a connector, it goes through mostly board property, and we have zero control over it. It's really the board's call for most of that, but I do think that is a good discussion point. That's one. Two, we do need to keep in mind, you know, it's not a question of we don't spend it, but we do need to be mindful of how we spend it. And I think that turning the swim club site into a more active park, I know at one point, Council President Dayton had talked to me about the idea of a mini amphitheater there. I had talked to her about the idea of maybe a sculpture garden, similar but better than what Leonia has. There's a lot of possibilities, but things are not cheap. And as a reminder that things are not cheap, just look later when Colliers does their presentation. We got a $33,000 grant from the county for the Oresco path. Now, if we got the grant for 33, I assume that's the county's half. We're kicking in 33, so that's a $60,000 path that goes the short distance from the Oresco Monument to Washington Street. That's not very far. So these things are not cheap. Also, in 8 years from now, bear in mind that Muni Field, the turf field, we did that with open space funding last time, and it was about 700,000. In 8 years, when it's got to be redone, it's going to be $1 million. And I do not want to, even though I probably won't be on the council in 8 years from now, who knows, but I would not want to be in the position of having to tell people, sorry, we can't do Muni Field without going to bonds because we've been spending our open space money. We know we have certain expenses, so we have to just be wise. But Dan, Councilman Park, the idea of working with that path, I love that path. Very intriguing. And Dr. O'Connor, your comments about some of the things we can do at the old swim club site, equally intriguing. So if we can combine the two, that would be awesome.
Mr. Mayor.
Councilman Michaels.
Thanks. Similar to Dr. O'Connor, I was able to meet with my committees as well, and we came up with our prioritized list. Again, so I do believe we could walk and chew gum at the same time. So I believe some of these things we can do in parallel versus in series. The three areas that I heard back from our committees in no particular order. One, again, sounds like we're all in agreement that maybe we could do something in Roosevelt Commons. The question is what? As a reminder, and it was actually the driving force of all of the thinking that I've been able to do and share with the committees, is that we have this great draft open space plan that Councilman Grossman and others are on. The so what of that report clearly stated that we are very lucky. We actually have an overabundance, which I'm so happy about, of passive space. So on average, the average, I guess it's acres per 1,000 residents is about 11 acres. We have 43 acres. So we have 4 times the amount of space passive than what is average. That's great. I'm all about being above average. Unfortunately, what the report did say multiple times throughout is that, as such, and discussed later, we have indicated that the borough does not necessarily have a sufficient amount of space towards active recreation, active space. So I will tell you that in all 3 of the areas that the reports, the committees that I spoke with shared, we do have a bias to active space, and most, if not all, of the discussion so far has been more passive space. So the 3 areas I mentioned, Roosevelt Commons, very open to talking about what that could be. We've already, the council has already seen this amphitheater, this community plaza that has been shared. That's an idea, but I'm open to it. But my point is, we have a large space in Roosevelt Commons. We have a great crown jewel of a monument. Let's take advantage of that space and bring people there. The second one is a community center in the area of the pool area, and again, we can make it bigger. My point of view is that actually for the physical building, we could actually get private, public-private partnerships there. So I wouldn't look to use the open space money for the physical building. I very much like Dr. O'Connor's idea of, a meditation garden or things like that. But the center of that is what everyone is talking we need more of, which is we need more active space. Whether that be I actually like Councilman Grossman's, I envision a place to exhibit art, community art. I would love performance space. I would love more, indoor basketball courts, which I know we have to beg, borrow, and steal from the schools to get because we actually don't have any of our own. So there could be a whole host of things there. But the second, again, would be the community center. And then the third, I know it's scary. I know everyone.
We're losing you, Councilman Michaels.
You don't hear me anymore?
I do. Keep going.
Okay. So the third one is, I know everyone gets scared of it, but it is used by every child in our town and then some, is Sunnyside. And I believe that us keeping, kicking the can down the road, knowing that it's not ideal. The third thing that I hear from everybody is that Sunnyside should be looked at again. So those are the three that the communities that I've spoken with would like to do. Something in Roosevelt Commons, a community center in the Grove Street corridor, for lack of a better word, and optimizing Sunnyside. So those are the three that I've heard from my committees.
So Mayor, can I jump back?
Yes,
in?
go ahead, Lauren.
So, I didn't get to really go through my stuff, but I'm listening. And, I started with a property acquisition because I heard from the council that that's what they wanted as the priority here. But for 4 years now, and 5, I have asked to develop these green spaces for more, as Adam says, active recreation space and community space, places to bring people together. I have pitched these ideas constantly to all of our councils that I've sat on. And as everyone knows, I have pitched a community center with indoor basketball, with a walking path for 1 mile, with community space, with outdoor gardening space, with an outdoor amphitheater. I have pitched this, and I happen to say that I completely agree with Adam, with Councilman Michaels, about the use of public and private partnership there to build the site. What I would like to do in this first ask, and I have a couple, in the first ask is I'd like permission to use open space money to get an expert to tell us what is possible on the land. I would like that person to be knowledgeable of architecture, but also landscape design, green space. There are people, professionals who do this. I would like to bid this out so that we can come back with a concrete visual of what can be done on the space, what should be preserved as green space, and what can become what Tenafly needs, which is a community center. Councilman Michaels and I had talked about possibly looking at the 3 properties, which was the old pool club, which we own, the high school parking lot, which we lease to the high school, and the existing pool club, and incorporating a way for all 3 of those to be used. And so maybe we move the parking lot over where the old pool club is, which is closest to the high school, which would give the students the closest access, and we combine properties. But I'm not sure if that's possible. I'm not sure, I've spoken to no one on the Board of Ed here, but I'd like to work with an expert. So my first ask in the use of the open space really isn't the property acquisition, is to have a bidding process for this piece of property. My second ask, and I'm completely behind Councilman Grossman on this, is to honor our monument and our Roosevelt Commons area. I have pitched for a couple of years a renovation of our skate park into a plaza type area where students can come and sit without, old fencing, without old, trees and bushes there, and to renovate that space so that when you look at our Roosevelt Commons, the center of our town, it is beautified, it is open, and it becomes a better community space. So I would like, as my second ask, and I know Jeff has asked for this, to have a landscape design for that incorporates the old landscape historical idea, the preservation of our monument, and to figure out what to do with the dilapidating skate park. We have not gone ahead with the renovation of the existing skate park that our recreation director put forward. I don't think anyone except for Adam and I voted yes on that. And actually, I think in the end, I think only I voted yes on that. And so there really doesn't seem to be a strong inkling to put back a skate park in that area. And number 3, I am going to say that I would like to have some money for landscaping in this open space plan that we can do in 2021. I would like designated money to landscape Roosevelt, Walnut, around the basketball courts, Oresco, Froggy Park, Sunnyside, to have beautification as part of our community. I think this is front facing to our residents. I think some of our community could be improved with landscaping, and I would like professional landscaping and a fund for it. Those are my 3 top priorities. And Adam, right behind that, we have to deal with Sunnyside. My girls were knee deep in mud on the softball field yesterday. Thank you.
Okay, so just to summarize, it sounds like we've got a couple of consistent messages here from the council, and then some other excellent ideas, but not as consistent as the top 2, which is looking at number 1 overall is the effort to improve what we already have as a general policy here, and focused on Roosevelt Commons, whatever that means for that area, and the Grove Street property, and whatever it means, and potentially putting them together. I would recommend that we task Jimmy with putting together an action plan so that we understand, who do we call? Do we call a landscape architect first? Do we have to deal with wetlands issues? Have Jimmy present, a 1-page outline to the council of the next steps if we're focused on improving Roosevelt Commons and Grove Street, and that we bring a professional in whose title is to be determined to help us down this road here. Is that acceptable to the council? Jimmy, do you have comments on that?
No, understood.
Yeah, I think we've heard a lot of excellent detail from the council members, all the council members on these topics. And, I think we have a very good read on what they're looking for here. So, let's use this as our guidepost and put together a plan that we can bring back to the council, and then we knock that around and pick and choose what works.
That'd be great. If you could just add one, I'm sorry. If I could just add one thing, and regardless of what we do, I would love to see if we could phase things, so we could get some quick wins, some singles, some doubles, some triples, some home runs. So, there are going to be a couple of great things that are going to be awesome, and they're going to be done, 10 years from now, 5 years from now. It'd be great if, whatever we build, I'm indifferent to, whatever we build, could we see something by the end of 21? Could we see something by the end of 22? Could we see something by the end of 23? So our residents get to see, get to benefit from it sooner rather than later, would be my ask.
It's fair enough. That's a good ask. Okay, Lauren.
So, Mayor, I just want to clarify. So we're going to ask Jimmy to put together a request for bid for a landscape designer.
No, we're not. No, I don't, and I'm not trying to be rude and interrupting. No, that's yeah. So we're not asking him to put bid specifications together because the council hasn't really decided exactly what it wants to do first. Okay. What I'm asking that we test Jimmy with is to put together the action plan for the type of professionals we bring in to have these discussions. In other words, I don't frankly know whether we should be doing landscaping prior to doing the pathway for Roosevelt Commons. I think we determined that, and because we can't go out to bid until we know exactly what we're doing and we've all agreed on it and what the numbers are. So Jeremy is going to say, okay, he has an excellent idea now of what the council wants to do, right? And as much as we all would like to see progress with Sunnyside, I'm going to go out on a limb and say is not our number 1 priority. A number 1 priority to me sounds like something with Roosevelt Commons and the Grove Street property, right? And so Jimmy is going to be tasked with figuring out which professionals do we hire and how do we approach this. And then the council makes that decision, and then we bring the professionals on board. Jeff?
So,
Jeff?
I'm not sure that I want to jump right immediately to what professionals we'd hire. I do want Jimmy to look at what the report on the EPA and where we can and can't even develop on that property, because my understanding from a couple of years ago is, as far as the structure goes there, we're pretty limited. And while I appreciate looking at all the properties, I mean, even a parking lot, if we were to move a parking lot, my guess would be the EPA would say no, because you're paving over. Even if you're unpaving and clearing an area, they're pretty fickle. And they would say, no, you can't do this. So I think we need some of those things of what we can and can't even do answer. And then we can definitely look at professionals. I also want to make it clear, because I think there's implications here about the open space plan. First of all, the plan is still draft. It is not finalized. So anybody who's trying to summarize a draft plan as final, that's wrong. Secondly, I was trying to throw out, and I know there's this passive versus active, and that's the first thing I said is I would like to see the old Tenafly Swim Club site become a more active site, and that's why proposing different uses for it, not just open space. I do not believe that we need to leave that as open space. That should be usable. And earlier, again, I had said that the more we go off on tangents, the less likely we are to accomplish anything. And yes, we can walk and chew gum at the same time, but we end up being like an octopus with 8 arms reaching in 8 directions, and we grab nothing. And that's been, unfortunately, the way we've survived poorly. And I would like to see us, at least to Councilman Michael's point, have something that we can accomplish. And I do think that we accomplished the dog park, and we can definitely do some other things at that site and start to make it look more attractive and less like some site that we're trying to do something with but not successfully.
So a couple of things, Jeff, only because you brought up some details.
Mm-hmm.
The Collier is right now working with, matter of fact, the notices just went out yesterday or today or something like that. They're working with the DEP to have the state verify the limits of the wetlands and the flood hazard areas on Grove Street, as we know. That's all underway. Several years back, we were given the opinion by then Mazer at the time that about 18% of the Grove Street property, perhaps you remember, was developable, which is all the area up by Grove Street. And I think really Jimmy's kind of action plan recommendation isn't going to be, let's go out and hire professional A, right, at all. We're nowhere near that. We know we're not even sure the steps yet of the best way to handle this. And that's really what we want him to give us, a recommendation of an outline that we can either edit, throw out, criticize, applaud, whatever it turns out. It's truly a first step.
I fully agree with that approach.
Yeah, no one's coming with a checkbook to the next council meeting.
Sounds good.
Okay. Any other comments from council members on this? Okay. All right. Thank you, everyone, for that. Jimmy, you have clarity, right?
Yes, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. So the next to be considered item B, in-person mayor and council meetings. Council members want to weigh in. I'm certainly in favor of reopening, obviously we're reopening Borough Hall, and I'm certainly in favor of in-person mayor and council meetings based on everything going on in the world or the United States at this time. I'd like to hear from the council members their opinions about doing this in June. Lauren, please.
I'm going to reiterate that right now there cannot be caretakers in my home for my children. And I think that we also need to take, what our employees have told us about their concerns. I have not seen a plan from the borough on accommodations or ensuring that the employees with pre-existing conditions or heightened conditions will be safeguarded here. I was in the borough the other day. Half the employees had masks on, half of them didn't. I was very uncomfortable actually speaking with somebody who wasn't masked within the building. That did not make me happy. So I don't see standardized procedures occurring that keep our employees safe enough for us to open back to the public. And so if we can't even enforce it amongst the few employees that are there, I have grave concerns about, you know, our old-fashioned, poorly circulated building having the public back in.
Other council members? Any other opinions on this topic? Jeff?
I'll weigh in that I think as far as at least this goes, I've been in a school for months and months. We've had students in there, we have staff in there. It does take planning, but it does work. And as far as things like meetings go, even we have hybrid. I have half my students sitting in front of me, half my students on Zoom, and it works. We have teachers who are respectful of each other in terms of keeping distance. Those of us, we just changed the school policy that if two teachers are in a room, no students, and they want to have lunch and they are both vaccinated, they can do so. So it's possible to carve out policies that will work, and I think that should be our goal, is to start opening up. Our kids here in Tenafly are going to school, and they're with teachers who are living with all these parameters. So it's something that the hybrid, at the very least, we should be able to make work.
Other members, council?
I equally agree that, you know, I certainly want to make sure that Councilwoman Dayton has, you know, complete full access, and we hear all of our council people. I want to make sure the public has full access, but I very much miss you guys. And if other people are doing it, you know, I'm starting to go back to work now. So, you know, I'd love to see if we could do it as a council as well.
Dan, Vanu, Dr. O'Connor?
Hybrid's good.
Hybrid's fine with me. I just, tell me when to go, where to go. I'll be there.
Vanu?
I'm okay with the hybrid approach.
Okay, all right. So Jimmy, two things. One, first off, let's make sure everyone's wearing their masks and redouble our efforts in communication with the employees. That's got to be a no-brainer must, that they're wearing masks in Borough Hall all the time, whether they like it or not. Second is put together a plan. You know, we'll have to have a lot of offline detail about the communication systems and everything, about doing a hybrid with a view towards potentially opening towards having live council meetings in Borough Hall with live public towards the end of June sometime. And we'll talk about a lot of the details offline.
Okay, no problem.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Mayor,
Okay, go
Mayor,
ahead. Go ahead.
I just, you know, since we don't have our HR director, I do want to see a plan if we're opening our building back for our public, which obviously everyone would ideally like to do and keep them safe. I would like to see a plan that shows both for the public what's required and for our employees.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Yeah, Jimmy, that the protocols for what happens when a member of the public comes into Borough Hall for a council meeting, you know, going in front of this camera, temperature, whatever it is, all have to be part of the plan.
Okay, no problem.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Next item on the agenda is the Walnut Park Playground renderings. And Councilwoman Dayton, I believe, did you ask for this on the agenda?
I asked for it, yes. So, thank you. And I'm sure James, thank you to our director of rec, who I'm sure did this work, and to Jimmy. Since Walnut Park is incredibly close to the homes on Walnut and the surrounding streets, I had asked that we look for something that was a little bit more camouflaged with the natural environment. And so Jamie gave us 4 proposals. I personally think I like the last one, the Bayou, which is neutral greens and beiges. So that way, if the person who's directly across from this playground looks outside, you know, they're not seeing bright red and blue in their environment, but hopefully this will blend a little better. I'm not sure how the rest of my council members feel, but that would be my vote.
Council members weigh in.
Lauren, I just had a question for you. If this would replace the other playground that's there, or is this an additional playground? That's what I wasn't sure.
Julia, I believe it's a replacement, and I think this one is ADA compliant, which the other one is not.
Oh,
We did this with a grant. We did this with one of the grants.
Jimmy, do you have any comments you'd like to make, or is Jamie on the line? One of you just to weigh in a little bit.
No, I mean that was it. We were asked to give other color options from the original color option, and with more earth tones, and this is what came back. And additionally, this would replace the full playground equipment that's currently there, and it would not include in the. I think it's updated in the renderings. Not include the bongos or that drum set. So that would be removed.
All right, comments from other council members regarding the color. We've got a suggestion on the table, and in the absence of any opposition or input, that's what it sounds like we're going to go with. Everybody going once?
I trust our professionals.
Okay, so Jimmy, we have clarity on the color?
Yeah, the Bayou.
I think that's the most neutral, but that's me. So.
Man, if I had my way, it'd be all purple, but you guys know that already. So
but let's hope you're not the house that literally looks at this out the window.
Okay, Jimmy, it sounds like we're good with Bayou, whatever color that is.
Got it. Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. All right, let's move on to the administrator's report, please.
Nothing for tonight, Mayor.
Nothing for tonight. Okay. Does anyone have questions about the resolutions or the minutes to be approved? Okay. Does anyone have any comments, or any council members have comments or questions about the ordinances for this evening? No. Okay.
I'm sorry. I know Councilman Michaels wanted to raise a question in regards to ordinance 21-11. This is your opportunity if you would like to speak on that, Councilman Michaels.
Councilman Michaels.
Sure. So I just wanted to bring up, and first of all, huge thanks to Susan, and actually huge thanks to my fellow council people. I think we're on like hour 853,000 for budget time. And just for the public, obviously there's sort of, I consider two parallel budgets, right? So there's the, regular OPEX budget and CapEx budget. This one has to do with the capital bond. I know we had lots of discussions on it on an individual basis, and I know we're to the point now we're voting on it. I know I share with my fellow council people really two elements for the reason why I can't support this this capital. The first one is, as I spoke throughout all the sessions, I've been saying about trying to balance sort of maintenance, and I'm not using the right words, but maintenance and expansion and growth for our town. And the math that I did based on the final numbers say that 93% of our capital budget this year is going to that maintenance side of the equation. And I'm not sure, and I'm not proposing what that exact ratio is, but I do feel a 93.7 is probably not the right balance. I know in the past few years, and I know I just came on last year, we haven't been spending as much as maybe we should have. We were very fiscally prudent with our dollars, and it's coming back to sort of bite us, and now we have to invest a lot more in maintenance. I do feel that I would have liked, and I propose some more growth elements to it versus maintenance. That's the first one. And then the second one, out of, I don't know, it's about $5 million. Please keep me honest, roughly, on what the budget is. We know that 20% of it is the fire truck, which we discussed, which obviously public safety is critically important. We spoke about a number of different things that we could look at, from sharing it, other grants opportunities. I was so happy to see, I think I shared with the mayor, unfortunately, about a couple weeks ago, there was a big, terrible fire in Bergenfield, and the New York, NorthJersey.com or whatever the Bergen Record newspaper was, actually had the ladder truck as the front page picture on it. So first of all, huge congratulations and thankful to our fire department that actually went to Bergenfield to help out with the exact truck that we were talking about. Again, we need it. It's important. I think there are just other ways to get that truck other than laying out literally 20% of the entire year's budget on that. So I just wanted to bring it up before we vote on it. I wanted you guys to know kind of where I was. I'm hugely appreciative of the entire finance team and my fellow council people for sitting through all the hours, but I just needed to bring that forward and didn't want to blindside anybody with my vote later tonight. So thank you.
Any other comments, council members? Okay, thank you, Councilman Michaels. The next item on the agenda is for the good of the order. Anyone have anything for the good of the order? Okay. I'm going to ask for a motion to adjourn to the regular meeting, which is going to continue on.
So
Can I get a
moved.
motion, please?
Oh,
Can I get a
motion.
second? Can I have a second? All in favor?
Second.
All right.
Okay. All right. I'm going to read the Open Public Meetings Act, and we'll do the salute to the flag. In compliance with the Open Public Meetings Act, PL 1975, Chapter 231, the notice requirements have been satisfied. Meeting dates for the year are confirmed at the annual meeting are posted on the public bulletin board in the lobby of the Municipal Center and published in the record within the first 10 days of the new year. Salute to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, thank you. Omar, could you please read the roll?
Councilmember Dayton,
Here.
Councilmember Grossman,
Here.
Councilmember Menon,
Here.
Councilmember Michaels,
Present.
Councilmember Dr. O'Connor,
Here.
no, Councilmember Park,
Here.
Here. Okay, can I please have a motion to approve the minutes of the April 27, 2021 regular meeting and the April 27, 2021 closed session?
So moved.
Have a second, please?
Second.
Roll call, please.
voice vote.
Voice vote. What? Omar, one day I'll get that right. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
No. Okay. All right. Wendy, are there any revisions to the agenda?
Just the one that you mentioned during the work session, Mayor, R21-209, adopting the local municipal budget. The hearing will be held, but the resolution to adopt will not.
Correct. Okay, thank you. All right. Thank you for that, Wendy. Okay. Hold here. Okay. All righty. Now we're in public comment time. Audience members wishing to speak will have a 3-minute time limit to address the governing body. Large groups are requested to have a spokesperson speak for them. Anyone who would like to speak, now is your time, and raise your hand. Please state your name and where you live. The first one I saw was Mr. Bausch. Oh, you're muted. You're muted.
I muted myself. First of all, I want to thank you so much for giving me the honor to be able to talk to the council, and I was so pleased to see the conversation that took place regarding the open space fund and all the activities. Since I kind of wrote the resolution for the open space, I don't need to remind everybody that the open space was specifically designed for acquiring new open space, maintaining existing open space, and for actually other activities that we put in, which was mentioned. Now, what happened with the open space?
I'm sorry, Mr. Bash. Can you
Yes.
state your name and address for the record, please?
Yes, my name is Max Bash, 148 Magnolia Avenue. Thank you so much, Omar. And just remind me before I do that all the time. Okay, what happened in the last probably 5, 6, 7 years is that recreation took almost every single penny out of the open space, and very little was used for maintenance of the open space, and practically nothing for acquisition of open space. People that were in council 3, 4 years ago, we knew that we had an opportunity to buy a property located at 53 Knickerbocker, but there was so much interference, and the fund was depleted by all the money that we spent for recreation, that we didn't have the money to buy that property. And today it's a developed property. It has trees that were 50 trees that were up to 300 years old, and every single one of them has been cut. As a matter of fact, I changed the tree resolution as a result of that to make sure that even in the footprint of the houses, if a tree is cut, either you have to replace it or pay for it. But the idea is that we kind of move completely away from the primary purpose of this one to the tertiary purpose, which was recreation. And kind of we need to go back and get to the first and second requirements of this open space. And I like very much the idea of acquiring the open space that was presented by Councilman Dayton, and the rebuilding and refurbishing of the open spaces along the Roosevelt Commons and the old swim club. So I would very much advise and support the idea of doing this acquisition if it's possible. And secondly, if it's possible, let's use it to do green open spaces with passive or active activities, but do not take this open space fund and 100% turn it into a recreation fund that turns green spaces into concrete locations or lights or stuff like that that have very little to do with what our original scope for open spaces were. And thank you so much for your attention.
Thank you for that, Max. Okay, Omar, I cannot see everyone, so please, in no particular order, who's ever first or second.
Mark, can I speak? Can you hear me?
Zena.
Okay, so Omar called out Zena first, and then I think I heard Christine Everon's voice. So Zena, first, please.
Yes, thank you. Hi, yeah, my name is Zena Spizakis. I live at 157 Hudson Avenue in Tenafly. Before I get to my comments, I just wanted to say briefly, I liked Volta's proposal. I've been driving an electric car for over 4 years now. I've got a ton of experience with charging station, and the fact that the electricity is free is key. So I think we shouldn't hide them, and I think we should be proud of them. So I also like their locations. As for my comments today, they're focused really on the health of our children, our community, and our environment. And they're around two things. I'm going to ask Omar to put up a slide on the heat island effect. As we're considering what to do with our former school area and other open spaces, I wanted to make sure that we're all aware of something that's becoming increasingly significant with climate change. And a lot of urban designers and sustainability experts are really taking this into account. I'm happy to share research on any of my comments with anyone here. The heat island effect is a phenomenon where urban areas are several degrees warmer than the surrounding areas. And it's due to the fact that we have heat absorbing materials like concrete, and we have reduced evaporative cooling, which is caused by lack of vegetation. There's other things that go into it, but that's basically what that is. It can cause an area to be upwards of 10 degrees Celsius hotter than the surrounding areas. And I know we don't want to get our kids, we don't want to give our kids heat exhaustion. That's one thing. Thanks, Omar, if you can take that down. That was all I had on that. And then secondly, with respect to synthetic turf, I read the open space plan as part of the Environmental Commission, and I just wanted to make sure that everybody understands the dangers with synthetic turf. There's a reason why there's tons of lawsuits on it. I'm not going to go into details, but I'm just going to list a bunch of things that you guys should consider. The rubber chemicals, there are too many chemicals to name, but some of the biggies are phthalates, heavy metals, and a host of carcinogens. Much of the damage to our children comes from consistent and long-term exposure to these chemicals. Bioaccessibility. Besides killing the ecology under the turf, these turfs break down into smaller plastics, microplastics, if you've heard of them, which get into our environment and our food supply. There are heat effects with synthetic turf. These things have been known to heat upwards of 180 degrees at the surface, and they do not cool down easily. And then obviously there's injuries. You can Google injuries in synthetic turf and see what that's about. One of the biggies that I don't like are flame retardants. Flame retardants cause a host of problems, from prenatal exposure to cognitive issues in our children to endocrine and fertility issues in adults. Not something you want to be on long term. And then finally, the chemicals that are used to disinfect and to sanitize these turfs have been known to be neurotoxins and have caused asthma. Again, I'm happy to share any of the science, the data, or the research on this, or to discuss this in further detail with anyone, but I just wanted to make sure you guys knew about them.
Okay, Zena, thank you very much. Appreciate that. Christine Evron, I believe, was next.
Hi, Christine Evron, 39 Leroy Street. I just wanted to make 2 points on the public space. One, when we did the Northern Valley Greenway initial proposal, the consultant that we hired presented to the community the plan for the Northern Valley Greenway space and asked for comments. I think that Tenafly should incorporate this kind of thing into any public project we do. For instance, the dog park, we might have designed very differently, just in terms of little things like where the gates might have been placed, if the public had had a chance to see the final plan before it was implemented. So I just think a public comment period of just putting the plans up and asking for post-its will be very beneficial for Tenafly. The other thing is that we have several large properties that aren't for sale and we've been assured won't be for sale, but nobody has a crystal ball. I would think we should always be prepared to buy large properties for ball fields that might become available at some time in the future, like perhaps the Mission, the SMA Fathers, Stop and Shop. I mean, there are large properties in Tenafly. It would be nice if our open space fund was funded to an extent that allowed us to take advantage of a sale. Thank you.
Thank you, Christine. Omar?
Okay, Miss Lisa Melman.
Lisa?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Great. My name is Lisa Melman. I live at 32 Sussex Road, Tenafly, and I've been in Tenafly for about 6 years. And in that short time, I've seen a lot of changes, and frankly, a lot of devastation when it comes to the natural environment. Most specifically in my area recently, in the recent months, and this is for another discussion, but there's been just a really accelerating situation in terms of home teardowns. Putting up new homes, but with the home teardowns comes a lot of old growth trees torn down as well. And a lot of the sort of ecosystems, the natural environments that had existed around a lot of our homes is being pretty much destroyed. In that vein, I'm very much a fan of the open space plans that include ways to sort of replenish the biodiversity that we're kind of destroying here, including I like the idea of the pollinating garden. I like the idea of just having plantings, having trees, having places to sit and enjoy those things and bring people to and socialize. That being said, in terms of the active versus passive recreation, I'm a little unfamiliar with that. I think there's a little gray area in between. For example, having an area with a sculpture garden also included in that Grove Street space, I think would be wonderful. I think the arts get really short shrift in Tenafly, much more than I had anticipated. I thought there was going to be a lot more arts and culture going on in the public sphere here than I do find. So all in all, when it comes to putting a parking lot in Grove Street or having replenishment of nature, having more community gardening, getting our children involved in that and learning what that's about, I think would be a great asset to our community. And I appreciate all your hard work. It's my first meeting that I've been witnessing, and I really appreciate all the hard work and thought that you're all putting into it. Thank you.
Well, thanks for joining us tonight, Lisa.
Thank you.
Omar, who's next?
Ms. Carol Hodges.
Carol, how you doing tonight, Carol? Oh, you're on mute. You're on mute.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Go ahead. Yes, we
Carol
can hear you now,
Hodges.
Carol.
Carol Hodges, 40 Westervelt. And I'll be quick. I'm here to advocate for a community garden extension in the Grove Street by the swimming pool. And it can incorporate native shrubs and plants and pollinators. It can incorporate everything that you're talking about. But I can't tell you what a blessing it was last year for the existing community gardeners, what it meant to them, just socializing and being able to produce food that was good for the bees that were there. And I have more people that want to join. There's not enough. There's little plots that people have. We could certainly use it, but I do think everybody gardens organically, so it meets all the requirements of what everybody's talking about. I think it could work. That's all. But thank you.
Thank you, Carol. Omar, who's next?
Bye.
Public comments, Mayor.
Can't hear you, Omar.
No more public comments.
No more public comments?
I would like to make a comment.
Who is this?
It's Martin Gilbert, Mayor.
Hi, Martin. How you doing? 2 evenings in a row. Good to hear from you.
2 days in a row.
Go ahead.
My name is Martin Gilbert. Excuse me, I live at 12 Leonard Avenue in Tenafly. I would love to see that space where the swimming pool was as done as a park area, a passive park, places to sit. I know we must have an awful lot of money in our tree fund because the sound of trees coming down is like unbelievable where I live. And I thought that a good thing to do would be to start that area with 29 native species trees. And I believe you might be able to know what the 29 stands for, which is the number of people in Tenafly who lost their lives to COVID-19. And I believe that's the correct number, right, Mayor?
You're very close. You're off by 3 digits, fortunately.
Oh, okay. But I mean, there would certainly be space to put one for everyone who's lost their lives during this pandemic. Not
Absolutely.
To put any kind of plaque or anything with a name or whatever, but just to have that as an area where families could go to reflect on what we've gone through this year and to just enjoy open space. I also agree with Carol Hodges. You know, I'm handicapped. I would love to have a plot in the community garden. Unfortunately, there are no raised beds, and I can no longer get down on the ground to do that kind of gardening. Whereas I know that some of the community gardens that are being built are, you know, ADA compliant, that have a raised bed that, you know, you don't have to get down on the ground to do. But I'm very much against building a community center because, first of all, as we've seen, and I believe Councilman Michaels said, a lot of our money is now going to maintenance. And that's for maintenance that's never done when it should have been done. And we don't need any more buildings that are going to require maintenance. We need to take care of what we have. So that's one of the things I wanted to say. And the Tenafly taxpayers don't need other buildings that are going to need bonding to repair or to maintain and be underutilized. And also, as everybody on the council must realize, the McCandless room is completely underutilized. Instead of building a new building, somebody should figure out how that area, that room, can be reconfigured to make it useful. And that's pretty much all I have to say. Thank you so much.
Thank you for your comments, Martin, especially about the trees in remembrance of our citizens we lost. Thank you.
Right.
Any other comments or hands up, Omar?
No, their hands up, Mayor.
No? Okay. All right. So we're going to close the public comment session. Excuse me? Okay. We're going to close the public comment session. And could I please have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Have a second, please?
Second.
Omar, could you read the roll, please?
Councilmember Dayton?
Yes.
Councilmember Grossman?
Yes.
Councilmember Menon?
Yes.
Councilmember Michaels?
Yes.
Councilmember Dr. O'Connor?
Yes.
Councilmember Park?
Yes.
Okay, thank you, Omar. Okay, so we're going to move into the public hearing time. So essentially, 21208 and 21209, the local municipal budget, we are not adopting tonight. So Omar or Wendy, correct me if I'm wrong, but it sounds like we're going to read the budget by title only, and then we're going to go right into public comment, and then I'm going to move on to 2110. Is that correct?
Yes, Mayor.
Okay. So Omar, can you please read 21-208 budget by title only?
We'll take a vote on that, Mayor. I don't have to read it. I'll just say.
We're taking a vote on you just reading it?
Yeah, because I'm
Okay.
not reading the budget in full. So it's just the resolution is just allowing me to have the budget be read in title only.
Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. All right. So can I have a motion, please, to permit Omar to read the budget by title?
So
So
moved.
moved.
Have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Any against? Okay.
No, it's a
Omar?
roll call. It's a roll
Oh,
call.
it's a roll call? Okay, go ahead.
Yes. Councilmember Dayton?
Yes, and I want to thank Paul Lurch, who's here tonight, and of course Susan Corrado and her entire team at the Finance Office for preparing everything for our municipal budget for 2021.
Councilmember Grossman?
Echo what Council President Dayton said, yes.
Councilmember Menon?
Yes.
Councilmember Michaels?
Yes.
Councilmember Dr. O'Connor?
Yes.
Councilmember Park?
Yes.
Okay, Omar, could you please read the budget by title only?
That's just it, Mayor. Oh.
That's it?
Yes.
Okay. So we'll go right into public comment here. So are there members of the public who would like to speak on this? Omar, you'll have to help me here. I can't see everyone.
I don't see any hands, Mayor.
Okay.
Just one question. Where
Christine
is the
Everett?
budget? Sorry, Christine Everett, 39 Leroy. Where is the budget published? I see 2020 municipal budget, but I don't see the 2021 municipal budget.
So with the budget, you have the opportunity to review the budget in the clerk's office. You can, call and make an appointment to review the budget, but the budget is not posted online until it's adopted. So, we haven't adopted the budget yet. So that's the reason why it's not available online.
In that case, could I just ask if there's money in there to paint the light posts in the downtown business district? Sorry, I didn't sit through the budget meetings.
Susan, I don't know off the top of, I mean, there is money in maintenance budgets for sure. I don't know if we specifically outlined the details of painting the light posts, Susan.
No,
Probably
I
did
don't
not.
have any details on any painting of light posts.
But
I don't
there's,
even know if that would be a question for Michael Cassidy to see if it's something on his list of items that need to be maintained. So I don't know.
okay,
It's
so
definitely
let's,
not in any total,
Jimmy,
like outlined as one item, no.
right, not down to that detail level. So, Jimmy, offline, have a conversation with Michael Cassidy and then establish with him whether it's on his list and what exactly painting all the light posts means downtown, and whether or not that's something that'll be covered in this year's budget.
Okay, no problem.
So we could report back to Christine next time.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Any other comments from the public or questions?
No.
Excuse me, none? Okay, so we're going to close the public comment time, and I'm going to skip, Omar, the whole next section since we're not adopting this evening. Is that correct, Wendy and Omar? Yep.
You're correct, Mayor. Yes.
Okay. All right. So we're going to go to ordinance 2110, unrepresented employee salary ordinance. Omar, could you please read the confirmation of publication of the ordinance and the title?
Ordinance 21-10. The ordinance was published in the record on Friday edition of April 30th. It's an ordinance to fix the salary, wage, or compensation of certain management, administrative, civilian dispatchers, and part-time employees of the Borough of Tenafly in the County of Bergen and State of New Jersey for the calendar years 2020, 2021, 2022, and 2023.
Okay, I'm opening the floor for public comments on ordinance 21-10 only. Are there any members of the public that would like to speak or ask questions about this particular ordinance? Omar? Anyone?
There are none, Mayor.
Okay. All right. Can I please have a Jeff? Would you like to make this motion, please?
Sure, Mayor. I move to pass and adopt on second and final reading ordinance 21-10, and that notice the same shall be published according to law.
Could I have a second, please?
Second.
Any seconds?
Second,
Okay, Lauren. Omar, could you please conduct the roll call?
For Dayton,
yes.
Councilmember Grossman,
Yes.
Councilmember Menon,
Yes.
Councilmember Michaels,
No.
Councilmember Dr. O'Connor,
Yes.
Councilmember Park.
Yes.
Okay. We're going to move to 20. Thank you, Omar. We're going to move to 21-11 bond ordinance providing for various capital improvements. Omar, could you please read the confirmation of publication and the title of the ordinance?
Ordinance number 21-11 was published in the April 30th edition of the record. It's a bond ordinance providing various capital improvements by the Borough of Tenafly, appropriating the aggregate amount of $2,955,476, therefore including a grant in the amount of $219,000 expected to be received from the State of New Jersey Department of Transportation, and authorizing the issuance of $2,814,000 in bonds or notes of the borough to finance part of the cost thereof.
I'd like to open the floor for any public comments on ordinance 21-11 only, please. Are there any members of the public who would like to ask questions or comment on this? Omar?
There's no members of the public.
Okay. Council President Dayton, would you like to make a motion, please?
Thank you, Mayor. I move to pass and adopt on second and final reading ordinance 21-11, and that notice of same shall be published according to law.
Could I have a second,
Second.
please?
Second.
Could I have, Omar, could you please conduct the roll call?
Councilmember Dayton,
Yes, and again, I want to thank everyone for all their work on this budget.
Councilmember Grossman,
Yes.
Councilmember Menon,
Yes.
Councilmember Michaels,
No.
Councilmember Dr. O'Connor,
Yes.
Councilmember Park.
Yes.
Okay. Next on the agenda is the Bergen County Open Space application. Jimmy, is this R21-210. Could you please give us a brief overview of the grant application?
Yep. We actually have Kelsey Howard from Colliers, who is overseeing this project on behalf of our engineer while we apply for this grant. So she put together a brief overview of the grant and what the project. So I would, with your permission, Mayor, I would like to turn it over to her for this portion.
Okay, please. Hi, Kelsey. How are you doing this evening?
I'm doing well, thank you, Mayor. Hi, everyone.
Thank you for joining us.
Me. Can you see my screen? I'm sharing a couple documents on the grant application.
Yes.
Okay, great. I'm Kelsey Howard. I'm here to present the borough's grant application to the 2021 Bergen County Parks Grant Program. We met with the Department of Recreation Director and identified a project to apply for as improvements to municipal field. This is located at 100 River Edge Road, identified as block 1008, lot 1. And a couple things, we're correcting some issues and meeting some needs that were presented to us, including putting in or cleaning up and making some landscaping improvements in the landscaped beds on the south side of the synthetic turf field, putting in black vinyl fencing to improve the dugout caging and protection of spectators, and improving the spectator experience by adding a concrete pad and bleachers near the McCandless room, between the field and the McCandless room in the library, as well as making improvements to the access road and correcting some drainage issues likely through regrading. We have estimated the total project cost at $130,400. The grant provides a 50% matching grant. So that request is going to be $65,200. And so the borough's match would be $65,200 to this estimated cost. And I think that covers everything. So I can take any questions.
Kelsey, I have some questions.
Sure.
Oh,
Go ahead,
sorry.
Laura.
Okay. Thank you for preparing this. But before I delve into these details, can I ask, had the field that we own and the snack shop in the center of our town, I believe we own that for Little League, the baseball field. Has that been looked at for this grant at all? Is that considered?
That I don't believe came up in discussions for potential projects for this application, no.
Is there time to look at that site and compare the two?
At this point, we've advertised for this public hearing. So the project was listed in this, and the grant application is due on the 14th. We put together a memo some weeks back on this project, so I don't believe we would consider changing the application.
And if we want to reduce the cost of this application and do less so that the borough costs are reduced, what would you suggest?
Well, we could put the application in for this amount, and then we would have the opportunity to scale back the project if you wanted to after the award was made.
I'm interested in possibly scaling it back now. Can you?
Yeah, can I follow up on that?
Okay, so Lauren, finish your statement and then Dan.
No, let Dan, go ahead. Let Dan.
Go ahead, Dan.
So that thick red line going south to north, is that number 4 hot mix asphalt?
Yes, I believe so.
And that's currently just a dirt trail back there, right?
Dirt or gravel.
We don't need
Yeah.
that. But
Can,
I'm with you, Dan.
if there's anything to cut out, it would be number 4.
I would
Is there
actually
is there a
encourage cutting
reason
that
why number
out.
4 was put in, Kelsey? Like a safety thing or transport thing, ease of moving stuff? Is there a reason for that?
I believe it was to improve the spectator pedestrian access to the back of the field through that walkway or access driveway from West Clinton Avenue. It depending on once we get into the design, those details would be ironed out. It could potentially be another material or narrower.
Dan,
So
I'm on this
if you
field.
kept
So I just want to throw something out there. I mean, this is two things. One, if we're able to make adjustments to this after the fact, and if that's open for the council to make comments after it's submitted to reduce things we want to do, I think that's a good thing. I'm not sure right here and now a redesign of what we've got on the table to vote on is what we really want to get into here.
Mayor, this is an incredibly expensive project for what's being proposed. This is our very first time to even see this project, and it's due in 2 days. So I feel that the rush is very inappropriate. That's one. And two, there's elements here that none of us have seen before, and I am using this field now 3 times a week for softball. There is no need to spend $20,000 to make that path that absolutely nobody uses. And I have to say the initial thing when we talked about open space is the remainder of this picture. That is the piece of property I said we should acquire. And if we should have developed anything, it should be looking at the rest of that for $110,000 and maybe not just landscaping around there, because we don't know if we want to acquire that piece of property. That was my first proposal. So why are we going to spend money here, with all of this green and the yellow lines when we're not sure possibly what's going to happen with the property behind it?
Well, okay, so let's back up a second. Didn't Jimmy and Omar jump in here? Didn't the council decide previously to move forward with this application?
We submitted an intent to apply. That necessarily doesn't tie us at the time to the specific project, but with the timing that we're facing, it is time that we have to decide on what to actually submit for.
Well, it's a shame that there's no other options presented. I will say, like I said, we've been asked for now 2 years to look into the center of town at a dilapidated building, for sports and a recreation space for sports. And that's about the same amount of money, 110, give us a brand new field versus just landscaping on a field. So,
All right, so let's
I'm
back up. When did this application come to us? When did this opportunity get made to us or be presented to us? Kelsey, can you talk about that a little bit?
Yes, the letters of intent were due April 9th. I believe the application was announced in March when it was relayed that opportunity. It's an annual grant program we submit every year to the Bergen County Parks Program. And at that point, we had a call with the recreation director. We spoke about some project needs and put in the letter of intent for I believe it was April 9th deadline for this project. I prepared a memo detailing the scope of this project, which did include improvements to the access road. And we moved forward with this grant application with this project scope.
And what is the percentage split between the municipality and the grant itself?
The grant provides 50% of the project cost. So the estimated cost is $130,400, and so the grant request amount is $65,200.
I don't think we've seen half of that. And if we have, it hasn't been in detail like this. And to show this to us 3 days before it's due, without a full discussion of the adjoining property and the use of this field, I still am incredibly frustrated that the baseball field and other areas weren't even considered, and that this is now being put at the last minute of this. This is an incredibly expensive thing. I'd want, and I'm all for getting grants, but I don't want to spend grants that don't make any sense.
Well, okay, so
I weigh in too.
Go ahead, Jeff. I can't see any hands at all or faces.
Right. No, I know it's hard with the shared screen. Two things. One, I want to echo Council President Dayton's sentiments. In the past, for this very grant, there has been a lot of discussion among the council. That's how we got to Oresco Park, the path last year, and years before that. And so I do agree that that's a problem. And number two, I'm hearing the number 130, and maybe this is just a technicality that's easy to fix, but I'm looking at the declaration of intent to apply, which was supplied to us, which has 110 as the total project cost and 55,000, not 62.5 or whatever the number is. So I'm hearing two different numbers here that are $20,000 apart, which is significant. And again, we just spent only a couple of years, 600,000 or whatever it was on this field, including extending towards West Clinton Avenue. Also, like Council President Dayton, I've done a lot of coaching there, and I would actually be concerned about an asphalt road along there, because that actually is foul territory for baseball. And the last thing I'd want to see is a kid go running and with cleats on get stuck on that and go flying chin first onto asphalt. This was supposed to be part of what was improved with the municipal field. We went larger to incorporate this area. Now to have drainage issues and all that, I find this problematic. But again, the amount also doesn't match the letter dated 4/8/2021, the intent to apply. Maybe after the intent, the number changes, but that's not what's here.
So
yes, so prior,
go ahead.
if I can just respond to the amount. So we put together that $110,000 amount for the letter of intent to apply. The purpose of that form is really to give the county an idea of what we'll be applying for, and for them to be able to respond if for some reason we're requesting more than the regional allocation, for them to respond and say, maybe you should scale your project back. You're not likely to get that requested grant amount. And so that was prior to having a detailed line item cost estimate like I'm showing on the screen here. So yes, the cost did go up slightly.
But to Lauren and Jeff's point, to cut to the thick of it or the thin of it, we shouldn't spend $65,000 just for the sake of getting a $65,000 grant, unless everyone's on the same page and comfortable with it.
Mark?
Yes, please.
Yeah, I mean, I had a couple of questions, early on, and it was just, was this grant only applicable to the rec department, or would it have been? I mean, why was it just automatically fielded to the rec department? Because as Councilman Grossman saying, we did weigh in on having Oresco, the work at Oresco done in a prior grant application. So I mean, obviously it wasn't just something that the rec department could take advantage of.
I'm not. Sorry, please go on, Dan.
Sorry, this is the parks improvement portion of their grant. So it's for park improvements, or rec improvements. I'm sorry, rec improvements.
It's only recreation available to the recreation department. No other departments.
I believe I'm not super close to
believe-
it. I believe this time that Jamie Cannon took the initiative, found the grant herself, and then brought it forward to investigate.
But this is something that we do every year. That's what was said in the intro.
Then I'm not. Then I could be wrong.
We notified the borough of it, and I'm not sure who else was notified of it. I thought mayor and council were made aware of it, and there was a discussion that didn't produce a proposed project, and therefore we had a call with Jamie.
So I mean, I'm not trying to put you on the spot because some of these may not be things that you can necessarily answer. It may be more for Jimmy or somebody else. But you know, I also just wanted to understand. This wasn't a project that was included as part of our conversations on the budget in you know the earlier part of this year, and these are new dollars, right? I mean, why was this not submitted as part of the budget? Because the effect at the end of the day is recreation gets a certain budget. And then this is now added on as an additional part of the budget that was outside of what we were going to give them to begin with. So it's confusing to me how you know, how we end up doing things that just add on as opposed to incorporating what we're working with to begin with.
Yeah, so just to summarize here, it sounds like this project got ahead of the council, and probably shouldn't be voted on tonight, because there is Susan, unless you news question even beyond Jeff and Lawrence, no money added for all this, correct? As of today.
There's no money allocated for it in our capital ordinance. However, if the governing body decides that they would like to proceed with this, they could use municipal open space money, or we would have to, if they don't want to use municipal open space, then we would have to adopt an ordinance and you know,
but
incur additional debt.
right, but
Mayor?
This is not.
To let you know
what-
about the timing of this, you would have just recently been notified of your award from last year's round. So you can assume that you would be notified an award in about March of 2022.
Okay, so then we would be able to, I don't know, is Kelsey
yeah,
on the line?
this
You hear me?
okay. Yeah, hold on a second. Time, Susan, this isn't about different ways that we can hobble together $65,000. This is about whether we want to or not, whether the council really wants to.
Oh, okay.
Okay,
All right.
that's a bigger question. And
Yeah.
I think Councilwoman Dayton, I heard your voice there.
Yes, thank
Lauren?
you, Mayor.
Please.
If we have the opportunity for a grant, I would hate to miss that opportunity. And again, I don't really think that this has been vetted well. I think that point's been made. But I will say, having played on this field so much this season, I would not mind if this is our only option in the timing we're given. My recommendation is to go ahead with the bleachers, because honestly, the parents have nowhere to sit, with some of the soil erosion and sediment control, and take out some of the other things like the asphalt road and the proposed line of trees. And the asphalt road is $22,400 and the trees are $15,000. And let's bring this down to, you know, a grant that makes sense for it. But I wouldn't just say no straight out if this is our only option. And again, right across the street, there's a dilapidating field that we own and, you know, wasn't even considered here. So I'm not sure why our director made this call when it was the council's call on what this grant should be for. You know, we have the need for recreation space, and this is one of them, but there's another one across the street that really could use more work. And you know, we have some safety issues with the building over there that we've been told, and that was before already our planning board for approval. and yet that wasn't even mentioned here for this grant. So again, I don't want to miss this opportunity. I would ask that the council reduce this down to something that makes sense.
So just to interject for a second, Lauren, before the rest of the council weighs in. Yeah, I understand what you're saying about reducing this. Makes a lot of sense, but just for clarity purposes, the baseball field across the street would involve, because it's on the Board of Ed property, would involve the Board of Ed being involved, I would imagine, at some level with the grant application. And I can't speak with clarity on that, but just so everyone understands, those buildings sit on Board of Ed property.
Mayor, can I just clarify? Because I spoke with some people on that side, and they believe we own it. Is there a clarification on that?
We're with that.
Not to get off on a tangent here, but the baseball field in this shack.
We're 100% clarified in 2020. We looked at tax maps, all kinds of communication. That property is owned by the Board of Ed for not to go on it, for essentially perpetual use by the Little League. But anyway, let's get back. So
back to the.
Yeah, Councilwoman Dayton made a proposal. Can Council President Dayton, can other members please weigh in? Anybody want to weigh in? Jeff, Adam, Dan, what do you think, guys? Julie?
Technical question for Kelsey.
Yes.
Can we, if due to the timing of the issue here, do we have to approve it the way it is and then alter the plans, or do we alter the plans then or submit that plan?
My recommendation would to be approve it as is and then request a scope change from the county once it's awarded.
Is it possible that they don't accept it though? They accept the change?
If you were removing an asphalt roadway, I don't think that would be a critical recreation type facility that they would have an issue removing.
So I'm supportive of Councilwoman Dayton's proposal.
So the proposal is to remove the landscaping for 15 and the hot mix asphalt for 22. Is that what you're saying, Adam?
Yeah. Again, I really wish we
no.
could. I'm talking the.
Kelsey's idea.
Yeah, the driveway.
Kelsey's recommendation. Kelsey's recommendation is to pass it the way it is and then alter it, not alter it and then pass it.
Okay.
That's fine, but I want us to align on, as a council, that the intention is to immediately, once we get it back, if we get it back and we win, that we're not building more roadways by our.
Correcto.
So I'm confused on why we would want to put things in our grant that we're not interested in doing. That's an expense to us. We still have to lay out the money. I think that's a mistake.
Account. It's a budgeted item. You have to put up the full amount anyway.
Yeah,
but the full amount will be a third of it. But I have a question for Kelsey. The drainage and grading on the bottom for 20K, is that for the trees? Because if so, I'd like to consider taking that out as well.
I recall that it was related to this back area where I believe there's ponding issues and drainage issues. So it wouldn't be necessarily piping, but just to correct any drainage issues around the site.
Yeah, we cannot have a discussion about editing this thing on the fly when we've got engineering questions, obviously.
Correct.
So the council's going to have to decide. It sounds to me, I mean, Wendy Rubenstein, can you weigh in here just for, is there any legal issue with us reducing the scope of this after the fact if we win, if we awarded this grant?
No, Mayor, my understanding would be that even the match from the county would have to match what the borough spends. So if the borough spends less, your match will be less, but you can certainly choose not to spend it all and then you don't get your match at all. So there is time for change. But it's a different council next year, theoretically.
Can the council in 2021 submit this and then make the change this year? Follow up with the change prior to the award?
I can reach out to my concern is that we need to submit a resolution with the grant application, and that amount that we apply for should match the resolution that is on the agenda tonight. So I can reach out to the county tomorrow to discuss making that change.
Kelsey, can I ask, are we less likely to get awarded this grant if it's at a certain level of money, or are we more likely to get an award another way if it's a lesser, smaller grant? I guess that's a better way to put it.
No, not necessarily. I believe as someone stated, you got 75,000 for Walnut Park in 2019, and then 30,000 or so for Resco in 2020. And they award varying amounts of grants every year.
Okay, thank you.
All right, so council has a decision to make. It sounds like the option is to either vote to move forward with this or not to move forward with it. And if we move forward with it, we change it at a later date. That's the summary. Are there any council members who want to make a motion on this one?
Mayor, if I may, it's Wendy. What I would suggest is if the council would like to change it in the future, let's have a resolution on a forthcoming meeting that authorizes that change. But as for what's before the council tonight, it should be a yes or a no. And again, if the council would like to change it, let's formalize that with a resolution at the next meeting, even if it is an if and when for 2022.
And again, we can't, I apologize. This has to be done tonight. This can't be done on the May 25th meeting.
It's due in like 2 days.
When exactly is it due,
So
Kelsey?
The resolution is supposed to be submitted with the grant application.
And the application is due what date?
The application is due May 14th.
Today's the 11th.
I mean, this should have been on weeks ago.
Yeah.
Nothing like waiting until the last minute.
Okay, so I'm going to ask this. I'm going to start off the easy way. Does any council member who would like to make this motion?
I will.
I just have a question though, just to Wendy's point. So if we do a resolution to bring the cost down, like Council President Dayton said, and what was laid out, then that means that it will happen. I mean, I guess that my concern would be this proceeds, but then it doesn't get adjusted like some of my colleagues have wanted.
I will discuss it with the county. They've been very flexible in the past, so I would imagine that we'll make some adjustment to the application.
Okay, so I have to open this up to public comment before we even make a motion. So I'm opening this this application up to public comment. Omar, please let me know if there's any members of the public who would like to speak. If there's any members of the public who would like to speak, please just speak up because we can't all see you. Nothing, Omar?
No, nothing there.
Okay. All right. Dr. O'Connor, who wanted to make this motion? Council President Dayton?
Yes. Right, on the actual language, hold on, I'm not on it. So I'm going to recommend to my council that since we have the opportunity for a grant to improve a recreation space, which I know still does need some improvements, that we try to get this grant with the intention, of course, that we will be reducing this by the elements that don't make any sense. So I move to pass on, is it first reading? Is that what we're doing?
No, it's a resolution.
It's a resolution.
No, adopt resolution.
Okay, so I make a motion to adopt a resolution to apply for this grant to improve our municipal field. And I don't have any language in front of me, sorry.
Do you want me to read the language?
Is it real language?
I have it up.
I don't have
Okay,
it.
so
I move
Go
to
ahead,
adopt
Julie.
resolution 21-210. Yeah. There you go.
okay, can I have a
That was it.
second?
Second.
Have the roll call, please, Omar.
Councilmember Dayton,
Yes, with the intention to reduce some of the elements out.
Councilmember Grossman,
I would prefer to have seen the grant for Hyler Park, which members of this council have been advocating for. I am a no. I'm not going to spend town money just to get some money. It's not free. No.
Councilmember Menon,
No.
Councilmember Michaels, Councilmember Michaels,
Again, horrifically done, unfortunately. I'm understanding that we're going to be able to change it afterwards, and my hope is that we'd get it done properly. So I'd say yes.
Councilmember Dr. O'Connor,
I'm going to be a no for right now. No.
Okay, so we have a problem because you made the motion.
Well, I thought that I had to read these things when sorry.
No, she can vote no.
No, it's okay.
I
She can
can't
vote.
vote.
You can make a motion and still vote no. The motion
You
just
can?
brings it to the
Oh,
table
okay.
for a vote.
Oh, I thought that was against Robert's
See, we
rules of orders, but go ahead.
we
I
learned
stand
something new,
corrected.
Mr. Mayor.
Yeah,
There could be a time when someone wants to bring it to a vote just to vote it down. So it is
fair enough.
to make the motion.
Councilmember Park,
Yes.
That's why he gets paid the big bucks.
Okay. I have to say my instinct is going to vote a no on this because I don't believe in, I don't think the council's had enough time to consider this entire thing. I don't want to rush into it. And I certainly don't want to spend $65,000 just to get $65,000. It's not a good enough justification for me.
Mayor, if I may.
Yes.
Mayor, I would actually like
I'm
us
listening.
to consider, this is Lauren. There are.
Yeah, of course I know who it is.
There
I know
is a
who it is
need
by
for
now.
bleachers. Okay, sorry, there's a delay. I would actually like to consider the bleachers are $1,000 here, a possible use of open space for this recreation area. Our families are standing around the softball games. Thank you.
Okay. On a separate note, Susan and Jeremy, let's have a conversation about putting forth to the council some money for bleachers that we might have already.
Okay.
Okay.
Can we stop the screen sharing? Because it's hard to see everybody.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. The next item on the agenda is committee reports. Council President Dayton, would you like to go first?
Sure. The first thing I'm going to discuss is the Northern Valley Greenway. I want to thank my council for passing the resolution tonight. And that authorizes us again to have a liaison and 2 committee members. And the committee members have a vote here on how we're going to advance our Northern Valley Greenway. And so I appreciate the passing of that resolution. I know Andrew McKesh, the president, was on to hear it pass. And thank you, Wendy, for its review. So thank you for that. And there is a new committee that started off of the Northern Valley Greenway called Friends of the Greenway. If there's any volunteers in the public that want to get involved and help us get the word out and get public sentiment and support. So that does exist. And so if you're interested, let me know and I'll let you know how to volunteer. The Welcoming Committee is going to have a second event for new residents. It's coming up the weekend of May 23rd. I believe the date that we're having it, excuse me for one second, I just want to double check the time here. The Welcoming Committee will be on Sunday from 1 to 3 at Borough Hall. Again, that's May 23rd for any new residents who want to come and meet our Welcoming Committee and get some more information. I want to thank our council today for passing the fire truck. I know we passed it in the budget, but I am still absolutely open to any ideas to share the costs on a shared service or to find a grant for that. So I don't think that that's done. Our Pride Day is coming up in June. We will have both a flag raising and a Pride Day on June 13th. We hope you put it on your calendar and come out and join us to celebrate on our beautiful diversity of sexual orientation and gender identity, and of course, just be an open and welcoming community. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Lauren. Dr. O'Connor, please.
I don't have any committee reports at this time, because really mostly all that I'm working on was either in the public or, the Cannabis Committee has something that'll be reviewed a little bit later, but the electric vehicle and the open space ideas, those were kind of the fruits of my labor as of recent. So nothing to
Okay.
report right now.
All right, wonderful. Thank you. Councilman Park, please.
The Nature Center and the environmental team teamed up to do a trash-a-thon, and I believe they collected roughly 50 pounds of trash all over town. So that's it.
Okay. Councilman Menon, please.
Sorry, could you come back to me at the end? I'm a little.
Absolutely. That's no problem.
Thank you.
Councilman Michaels.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Had a number of good meetings. Rec board met last week. Spoke about a number of different town sports that are doing well. We did have a long discussion on softball. If anyone could help Councilwoman Dayton and her dad manage the trillions of young softball ladies. But actually, I think we had one great coach volunteered, so I don't know where we were with that, but there was a good discussion there, and we're going to continue to communicate out better going forward. If anyone wants to volunteer in any form, take my seat in council or softball coach. They're two of the same, but definitely love when everyone's engaged as a town, and that's just one more great opportunity to help out our town. Summer programming, as you can imagine, lots of parents are excited to get their kids out and about, out of their house, however you look at it, like myself. And summer camp's doing a great job. We're actually already almost at capacity. So if you are having any thoughts about the summer rec use program, please reach out to Jamie Cannon. Those were the big things that we spoke about in rec, which was great. Good stuff on downtown committee. Also, thank you to Councilman Grossman and Chairwoman Wilmot. We had another downtown revitalization committee meeting. Got a number of amazing proposals. Shortlisted that, and we have actually next week coming up a set of interviews. So huge thank you to everyone on that committee, making incredible progress. And my fellow council people, please, Omar, please put on the agenda for next meeting, the 25th. If all goes well, we'll be bringing forward a recommendation, which of course the council decides on any decisions that are made. With that, I will yield my time, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Councilman Menon, you ready?
No, I need another couple of minutes.
Okay, actually, one more quick thing I forgot. Omar, I brought up last time, joint use keeps getting moved or canceled or not rescheduled. There are a whole number of issues that I'd love to talk with the Joint Use Committee about. Ball fields, we've heard a couple of them already. I think it was Councilwoman Dayton or Dr. O'Connor, the smart firearms thing that we did last time. We said we'd bring that to the council as well, the joint use as well. So Omar, if you could just please follow up, I'd love in the next 2-3 weeks, we get that joint use meeting back on the calendar. I think it's an important meeting and they keep getting missed. So
yeah, Omar, I agree with Councilman Michaels. Let's start a dialogue with the Board of Ed and get this scheduled up.
No problem, Mayor.
Okay. Councilman, you're done, Councilman Michaels? I don't want to skip anything. Okay. Councilman Grossman, please.
All right, a few things. First of all, stigma-free met. And one of the things that they're planning that hopefully we'll be able, once they pick a date and a venue to advertise, is they're looking at bringing in a woman, Teresa Johnson, who runs a program, Never Alone Again. It's about domestic violence, which obviously is just unfortunately an ongoing topic that doesn't go away. So I will keep you apprised of that. There was a lot of discussion about her. And they are planning still a Lime Out. I believe it would be with lacrosse, but sports is a little hard to have something like that right now.
It's on the 13th.
That's on Thursday, Jeff, right?
It's on
The
Thursday.
Lime Out?
Yes, on Thursday. I didn't have that written down, so thank you. The planning board met. It's continuing to hear the application of 22 Jersey Avenue. That's the Warren Group that is seeking to put in a storage facility. That's down near La Promenade, across the street from that. That hearing is going to be continuing tomorrow night with the objector's attorney will be presenting a witness. So I doubt that the issue will be resolved tomorrow night, but if anybody wants to listen in to the continuing testimony, please join in. The planning board's link is on the borough website. Historic Preservation Commission met, so I had a busy week last week. One of the things that was discussed, I thank the council for passing the resolution tonight for Collier to sort of oversee the Roosevelt Monument grant. I will tell you, although I voted for it, I think the number is a little high. But we're at a point right now where I've been telling you that we need to really push to get this monument maintained, fixed up, the lighting, everything, and we're running out of time. And so Collier is going to help keep it on track, make sure that we do everything by the book and that the paperwork will get submitted to the county by December so that we can get the matching grant. And I thank Jimmy and all the borough employees and Susan who have been really helping to meet on this and keep that rolling. The HPC also had a application from 172 Serpentine Road for a certificate of appropriateness. They want to make some changes to the exterior of the house. Anytime that happens on a historic house, it goes to the HPC. Bless you, Councilman Michaels, Gesundheit. And every time, and it's very, very simple process. You know, people get freaked out. Oh, don't designate my house. I won't be able to do anything. It really does help. And they're very good about working with this family. And so they deemed it a minor application. They'll review it and they should be able to proceed with the work. You also may have seen an article in the Record that they will be putting signs up designating a couple of historic sites. Those are the blue signs, similar to what we have in front of the Elizabeth Cady Stanton house and down where the Valley Hotel used to be, where she tried to vote. And these go in the right of way, so there really isn't anything. It's like any other sign in the right of way put in by the town. We have the right to put it there, and it designates it as a historic place. The other thing from HPC, and as soon as this is ready, I do want to share it with you guys. They are working on a brochure for a walking tour, and it really does focus on Elizabeth Cady Stanton, and it's an awesome document. They've had someone who is really professional helping them put this together. It will be awesome, and people will want to come here and take that walking tour on a nice day. Tenafly Presents continues to meet. We're still putting together final acts for this summer's concerts. Everything is just about in place. And the last thing I want to say is actually not a committee report, but I know that the mayor often mentions sports things right, Mayor? You often mention you report sports.
Yes, I do, constantly.
One I would add, and I think Tenafly should be proud of, is one of our former cross-country stars from Tenafly High School, Josette Norris, just qualified last month for the Olympic trials for the 5K.
That's fantastic.
So she
That's
qualified
absolutely
for the
fantastic.
Olympic trials, which will be held in the state of Washington next month. And if she makes it, she's going to the Olympics. So that's Tenafly's own. That's pretty cool.
When is she doing this?
So she qualified for the trials last month, and next month, I think mid-June, is when the final Olympic trials are being held in the state of Washington. And if she does well there, she will go to the Olympics.
Okay. I'm writing that
pretty
note
awesome.
now.
Yeah, Josette Norris, Norris.
Oh, yeah. I know who she is.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you for that.
That's it.
Okay. Thank you. Venu,
Yes.
showtime.
Okay, so a couple of meetings. There was a youth services meeting, and Mark stated that approximately 850 attendees have visited the teen center since September, and that over the past couple of months, there were over 300 coming in. Expectations are that this will increase further as the governor loosens regulations. However, what that calculates to, the 850 and the 300, is that on average it's about 6 per day. He said the maximum on a given day was about 21, I think he said. So attendance, even though it's coming in, it's still pretty slow, compared to how it was in the past. But summer camp registration has also been going on in recent weeks. It's been slow there as well, but there are currently about 20 campers signed up, and activities are being coordinated. Mark also stated there's about $10,000 in the budget for furniture for the teen center, which he's planning to consider for modular type furniture for the center. He then brought up a question about the position that he wanted to fill, and asked if whether that could be filled. So I don't really want to go into this here, but he did want me to bring it up with the council and to discuss it. But I would just add that with the number of people, the number of students coming in being this low, it may not be a priority until September, but we can discuss that maybe at the next meeting. There was a Board of Adjustments meeting, and Tenafly loves its pools. There were 3 applications. 2 of them were for pools, and variances were given on these. The first one was to allow the pool to be within the 15-foot coverage side yard. The second one was to allow for over 30% impervious coverage, and the proposed was 35%. So that both of those went through. We'll have 2 more new pools in the town. There was a third application for a circular driveway along Engle, and 120 feet street frontage is required. They only had about 75 feet, but because of the location, it was considered that that a circular driveway on Engle made more sense than these people backing out into traffic, which is a more dangerous situation. So that was those three. There was also the, one second, the storage facility that came up, but they agreed to delay it till the next meeting. So we're still in a holding pattern on that one. The Chamber of Commerce met, and there were discussions on a couple of items that were kind of interesting. One was they have something called, and if you give me a second, I'll find out what that was called. But it's a May promotion called the Tenafly Giant Worm Social Media Blitz, where in honor of cleaning and repairing the pipe for the underground stream in downtown Tenafly with the culvert work. They called that a giant worm because it's rumbling under Tenafly, and participating businesses were giving away gifts to those that showed their social media posts. So please, show your social media posts to these to the businesses, and not all of them are participating, but you can always show them your support anyway. Keith Licata from Colliers came in to talk about the culvert project, and answered questions from businesses as well. There was a discussion about the food trucks and the food truck ordinance, and basically the members of the chamber who spoke said that they're fine with food trucks being next to schools and next to fields and next to parks, but it should be on otherwise it should be on private property, with no idling, trash and electric service to be provided by their landlord, whoever is renting the private property space to them, and they should have all permits from the health department and other departments within the borough. And the nature center and the pool club were not interested in were not specifically interested. And one last thing, right? They wanted the application to require a contract between the landlord and the whoever the food truck vendor is. So those were kind of their contributions to this discussion, and that was it.
Okay,
Mayor?
thank you. No. Okay.
Mayor?
Yes.
I'm sorry, I forgot one more thing, and Vinu, you just reminded me of it, so thank you. The Nature Center, and actually two more things. The Nature Center this week on the 15th and next week the 22nd, they have Portraits by the Pond again. If you want family portraits, they have a professional photographer. It's a fundraiser for part of the Nature Club, Nature Center, and it goes towards their 60 to 60 fundraising for the 60th anniversary. And the second thing is, and let's all make sure we tell our public, it is First Responders Day, and we are hosting First Responders Day. And Mayor, maybe you want to give the details for that.
Okay. Thank you. Mayor's remarks. Let's talk about a couple of things first. Let's start with Lime Out. So these are, let's start with a Lime Out is this Thursday, like Jeff was saying, May 13th. I have more details in front of me. May 13th at 7 p.m. During the boys varsity lacrosse game. Okay. And then on Saturday, lacrosse, it's Tenafly Lacrosse Day, which is May 15th, this coming Saturday. And it's going to be, we're playing Dwight Englewood, and it's all going to be held at Geisinger Field starting at 11 a.m. And Lauren, I don't have my notes for the date. Isn't the date coming this Sunday? What's the date for the?
The First Responders event is, hold on. isn't it next week during the week? I have it down as Tuesday, May 18th. And Jimmy, is that correct?
Sorry, for which, what are you confirming the date for? Which?
I want to
The-
tell our public about our First Responder Appreciation Day that's coming up.
Yep, the 18th at 6:30.
Right, 6:30
And where
p.m.
in-
on May 18th.
And that's in Oresco? Yes?
Yeah, we originally wanted to do it in Peace Plaza, but I think with the just for spacing purposes, I think it would be wiser to go to Oresco. So Oresco, yes.
We have Oresco Park. Please come out and show our incredible police, fire, and TVAC how much we appreciate what they've done this whole past year.
And we'll see everyone there. Okay, those are the only mayor's remarks for tonight. We're going to go into closed session. And Wendy, would you like to read that before I ask for a motion?
I'm sorry, Mayor. I got locked out of my computer, so I was just logging back in. If you could give me just a moment for that.
Okay. Who wants to play the theme from Jeopardy while we wait?
I was already logging back in, so it's not that long a wait. Here we go. The two computer things sometimes gets a little complicated. Resolution R21-211. At the regular meeting of the Mayor and Council of the Borough of Tenafly, County of Bergen, State of New Jersey, held on May 11th, 2021. Be it resolved that in compliance with NJSA 10:4-12, the Mayor and Council of the Borough of Tenafly are going into closed executive session to discuss the following matters under attorney-client privilege, cannabis, and procurement contract negotiation. Minutes will be taken of the meeting and released to the public at the time that the matter is resolved, and action may be taken once we come back to open.
Could I have a motion to go into closed, please?
So moved.
Could I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, we'll see everyone in a few seconds in the closed session.
Just everybody.
There he is.
Adam, Dan here?
Yep.
Okay. All right, so what are we deciding the date of when we're going to have this at a meeting, this conversation?
Well,
And
first,
Wendy,
Mayor,
Wen-
I think we need to have a consensus to have a fact sheet posted on the website that was prepared by the Cannabis Committee.
Okay, do we have a consensus to post this Friday, removing a small amount of the language and post it this Friday on the borough website?
Yes.
Everybody go around the table, Omar.
Councilmember Dayton,
Yes.
Councilmember Grossman,
Yes.
Councilmember Menon,
You're mute.
Yes.
Councilmember Michaels,
Yes.
Councilmember Dr. O'Connor,
Yes.
Councilmember Park.
Yes.
Okay, so that'll get posted on Friday with some edits. Next question is, should we have this discussion at a public meeting? And before, with the public comment, before anyone answers that question, Wendy, is there any issue with us making public comment, doing it at the beginning of the work session rather than waiting into its normal place?
No, you can schedule a presentation and then open for public comment after the presentation.
Okay, that's what I would propose, that the next council meeting, which is in 2 weeks, that first item on the agenda will be a presentation of this, just a restatement of what's posted on the website, and open it up for public comment. How does everyone feel about that?
We just need to make sure that the other members of the committee will be available, as will professionals, including the chief.
That's fine.
Mayor,
Council
I'm
members?
fine with that plan. I just would request that we have an additional meeting between now and the time we vote on this that allows the public more input.
Also, how do you guys feel about pushing it up an hour, 30 minutes or whatever?
A
That's up to the
special
council.
meeting for cannabis discussion starting ahead of the work session.
Like a half hour, but I have softball. Sorry, I like booked it here.
Yeah, I can't, it's hard for me to judge whether more or less the public will be there if it's at 6:30 versus 7:30.
7:30
think-
feels like you're home from work. What day is that? I'm sorry. That's the
2 weeks from
25th?
today. I would
25th.
recommend. we
I think
keep the
later
council meeting
meeting.
at the same time,
You know,
7:30.
the school board has really good discussions starting at 8 o'clock. And I think that gives you time to put your kids down, to have dinner, to take 5 seconds and to log on.
I'm not personally held to, we can do it at 8 o'clock if the council wants to do it at 8 o'clock, that's fine. It's just where it'll show up on the agenda. We'll have the regularly scheduled meeting, and at 8 o'clock, this will be the agenda item if that's what the council wants.
No, let's keep it 7:30 then.
Okay, so I've got one vote for 7:30, one vote for 8 o'clock. I need to hear some other voices here.
I think 7:30 is fine.
7:30. All right, 2 for 7:30. It sounds like 7:30 is carrying it. All right. Any other business for tonight? No? Can I get a motion to adjourn? Can I
Motion
get a
closed.
second? All in favor?
Second.
I didn't hear a second.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you,
Second,
Eddie.
second,
hard
second,
work.
second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay,
Aye.
have a good night, everyone.
Good night, everyone. Thank you.
I think we could do